City Commission meeting this February 20th, 2024. Got some exciting things happening, and for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome to the City Commission meeting, and we'd like to thank you all for your patience in our delay of the meeting tonight. Before we begin, I just wanted to say that we start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we move on to take on some business matters, and then we actually have some presentations, and which usually are a matter of recognizing people, individual groups, events. And tonight we have two such presentations. We're very proud to be able to welcome you all here tonight. So why don't we start with the Pledge of Allegiance? And joining me in that pledge is Legacy Jenkins from the William Dandy Middle School. So could I ask you please to join me at the podium?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. You may be seated now. Don't we have something for her? Don't we have something for her? Don't we usually have a swag bag? Oh, Legacy, see,
Ashley, are you going to take a picture? Take a picture. She's gone. Okay. Yes. Mayor, wait.
So, okay. Excuse me, picture taking. Want to do it with the family?
Family picture?
Came all the way here for you.
There we go.
Everybody right here. 1, 2, and 3.
Great, thank you. Thank you for coming. So at this time, we ask you all to join us in a moment of silence. And in your moment of silence, I'd like you all to include in your prayers Sandra Post, who passed away recently. She's been really an important member of our community. Many of you may have heard of the restaurant Big Louie's. She was the founder of that restaurant chain, as well as other businesses that were part of Fort Lauderdale. In addition, I also want to ask you to recognize Edward Murphy and Frederick Hoffman. These are two pilots that passed away who worked out of our executive airport here in Fort Lauderdale. Very, very sad accident that they suffered, and we really, our hearts go out to the families. So please share in this moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Herbst? Commissioner Glassman?
Here.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman?
Here.
Commissioner Sturman?
Here.
Mayor Trentalis?
Here. We have full attendance. We have a couple of agenda announcements. We have two walk-ons. These were just given to me, so they're probably just given to you. They relate to spring break events. The first walk-on ordinance is amending Section 26-91A, the schedule of fines to create a high-impact event on beach property parking violation, and then an ordinance amending Section 8-55.5 to implement additional mitigation measures related to high-impact events on the beach property. These will be taken up at the end of the meeting, and if we need a break to review them beforehand, I'll be very happy to accommodate you. In the meantime, other than adding those to the agenda. Do you have any comments regarding the minutes or the rest of the agenda?
I do, Mayor.
Please.
Thank you. So with regards to the minutes of January 9th, 2024, the first item, M7, which is the bottom of page 8, it's very confusing. If you read the item, the motion was just for discussion and whether to set a de novo hearing. So if you were in favor of that, you would be in favor of setting the meeting. And but if you look at all of the comments from the community, it's almost like it's reverse. Everyone that was in favor of setting a de novo hearing is listed as in opposition to the agenda item. And the people that were against having a de novo hearing were listed as in favor. So it's just confusing if you read this agenda item minutes.
So we need to correct that, which we'll do that.
Okay, and my next item is on page 12. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm okay with that. On page 15, this was the agenda item for R2. This was the City Manager Annual Performance Review. I do not remember any speakers speaking against the City Manager's Performance Review raise. And two people are listed as speaking in opposition, Donna Guthrie and Bevon Pettit. I do not think that's correct.
Just the opposite, actually.
Yeah, you're correct. We listened back. We're going to make the adjustment to that.
So, right, because every
Yes.
single speaker was in favor of the...
Especially them.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Yes, one wanted to send flowers, actually. Okay, moving right along.
Did you get any flowers, Mr. City Manager?
No.
Okay. No comment.
Okay. Next item that I have is on page...
You were busy.
On page 23. On page 23, this is agenda item... actually, this is agenda item... This goes way back, I'm sorry. This is agenda item R4. This is approving conveyance of the city's interest in air rights to a portion of the Bahia Mar site. And on page 23, under the vote, I'm listed as opposing, and that's incorrect. I voted in support. There was only one commissioner who voted in opposition to this item. And I should not be listed as a nay vote.
So we stand corrected on that, too.
Yes, and I'll make the correction on that.
Which one was that one? Page 23, towards the bottom under adopted. I think I'm good, Mayor.
Okay. So, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as amended and the agenda as amended?
Second.
Moved. Do I hear a second? Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman,
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst, yes. Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the agenda and the minutes as amended are now approved. So now we begin with our presentations. And it's my honor to be the first person to welcome John Prunskis, the Honorable Consul of Lithuania, to please join me at the podium to present a proclamation declaring February 16th, 2024 and March 11th, 2024 as Lithuania Independence Days in the city of Fort Lauderdale. Please join me. As well as everybody else who's come here today, please join us all at the podium. Come on, the whole gang.
You want us to? Okay. Okay. I know my place.
Press this, okay. Come on, folks. Get in the picture. And thank you all for coming here tonight. We know how important this is and what a wonderful recognition that we all want to share with you. You have the flag and everything. Oh, this is great. It's upside down. Oh, they brought dessert too. So, from the Office of the Mayor of the City of Fort Lauderdale, this proclamation in recognition of Lithuanian Independence Days. Whereas the Lithuanian community in Fort Lauderdale and across the world celebrates two significant dates, Lithuanian Independence Day on February 16th and the Day of Restoration of Independence of Lithuania on March 11th. During the tumult of World War I, the Lithuanian people bravely declared their independence on February 16, 1918, abstaining from alignment with either Germany or Russia. This act of independence of Lithuania embodied their desire for sovereignty and self-governance. Despite maintaining independence until 1940, the Soviet occupation during World War II brought a period of hardship and oppression upon Lithuania. Yet, even after World War II, the nation's spirit endured. Alongside their Baltic neighbors, Lithuanians staged peaceful protests against Soviet rule, paving the way for renewed independence. On March 11, 1990, the Supreme Council of the Republic of Lithuania boldly affirmed the nation's freedom from the Soviet Union by executing the act on the reestablishment of the independent state of Lithuania. Yay! Got out just in time. This historic moment marked a triumphant second Independence Day for the country. Whereas both Independence Days symbolize the spirit of the Lithuanian people and serve as a powerful reminder of the importance of resilience and the pursuit of freedom, inspiring those who still face oppression across the globe. Now, therefore, we, as the City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, do hereby proclaim February 16, 2024 and March 11, 2024 as Lithuanian Independence Days here in the City of Fort Lauderdale, dated today, February 20th, 2024, signed by myself, Mayor Dean Trantalis. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Would you like to share a few words?
Thank you so much.
In English, please.
In English. So, that was wonderful. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the commission, and thank you for the warm reception by other city leaders and by the public today. This is the first diplomatic mission in Fort Lauderdale, and I hope it's not the last. The reception we've received has been very warm. Fort Lauderdale was selected because of its dynamic, vibrant, just joie de vivre and location and business opportunities, as well as between Miami and Palm Beach, kind of a
We are
seven.
FTL, Mr. Prince.
What did I say?
No, we are FTL. That's why you're
That's right. Thank you. And I want to also thank the Parks Director, Carl Williams, because we've already approached him with some lofty plans that we have for Fort Lauderdale. One is in the near future, this year, next year, to have a Lithuanian Day celebration on the beach, perhaps near Las Olas, where we'll have crafts, dancing, singing, and celebrations. And then also, I'm originally from Chicago, and when I was a kid, we would have Lithuanian language schools on Saturday in the Park District. And we're hoping to bring that to Fort Lauderdale, both to Lithuanian heritage people and those children who might want to learn a second language they might not be able to learn elsewhere. I want to thank Daphne Sainville, also, who's Director of Government Affairs. She's been just a stalwart supporter and our facilitator for things that we needed to get done. And with regards to the celebration that we anticipate of Lithuania Day, again, somewhere outside near the beach, I've already reached out to the Foreign Ministry of Lithuania, the Embassy of Lithuania in Washington, to get ready to send everybody to Fort Lauderdale. Also, it just so happens the marathon that we just had a couple days ago next year falls on February 16th, which is Lithuanian Independence Day. I have also notified the Foreign Ministry and the Ambassador to start training, as we expect them to both attend and at least do a 5K. So, again, it's with a deep sense of humility and gratitude that I accept your wonderful proclamation. And with a celebration such as this one, without a celebratory Lithuanian šakotis cake, it wouldn't be complete, which we'll leave with you and your staff to enjoy. It's a traditional celebratory cake of Lithuania.
Sweet cake.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sure.
Thank you. This is it. Did you make it? Why don't we stand in front of the podium so we can have our picture taken? Here, I'll put it in the
Sure, that's fine.
Why don't we stand in front of the podium here so we can...
You want everybody in front of the podium?
Can't make it in. There it is.
Thank you. Sure. But we need the commissioner. The park, and where's the assistant?
Right. Yeah.
They love you. You want to get pictures?
I'm good.
Oh my God.
Now I would like to invite Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman to present a proclamation declaring February 2024 as Black History Month in the city of Fort Lauderdale. Gentlemen, would you mind coming up and standing by the podium with Pamela? Okay. And Art Kennedy as well, especially Mr. Kennedy.
Watch the cord. Watch the cord.
Surrounded by all these handsome men.
Yes. I can stand right here, Mr. Kennedy. All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes, yes, yes. I have the honor of reading and presenting a proclamation tonight from the Office of the Mayor, the City of Fort Lauderdale. Proclamation in recognition of Black History Month. February is nationally designated as Black History Month, a time to honor Black pioneers who timelessly fought for freedom, equality, and the advancement of human rights. This month-long celebration allows us to pay tribute to those profound contributions and sacrifices. Whereas in the month of February 1938 in Orlando, Florida, Mr. Arthur Art Kennedy established an extraordinary promise from the young age. After graduating from Jones High School in 1955, he furthered his academic journey at South Carolina State College, earning a Bachelor's of Science in Physical Education. His pursuit of knowledge continued at the University of Illinois, where he attained a Master's of Science in Recreation. And whereas Mr. Kennedy embarked on his career as an educator in Orange County in 1962 before relocating to Broward County in the sequential year, where he dedicated over 2 decades to Broward County Public Schools. Throughout his 27-year tenure, Mr. Kennedy shaped young minds as a teacher, athletic director, head football coach, basketball and track coach, and chairpersons for the Physical Education Department. And whereas Mr. Kennedy served as the president of the Teachers Union, playing a pivotal role in negotiating Broward County's first teachers' contract and leading the county's inaugural strike. On February 19, 1968, he joined over 27,000 Florida teachers and administrators in a historic walkout. This memorial stand resulted in an agreement to increase funding for public education, and Mr. Kennedy's commitment and educational excellence reached beyond the classroom. As an administrator in the Florida Department of Education, he actively shaped and implemented educational policies written within the school system. And whereas Mr. Kennedy's dedication to serve continued as the Chief of Staff for Florida Congressman L.C. Hastings in 1994. Throughout his life, Mr. Kennedy championed social justice and equality, directing organizations including the Urban League of Broward County, the National Conference of Christians and Jews, the United Way of Broward County, and many more. As we honor Black History Month, let us celebrate the exceptional life of Mr. Art Kennedy, whose enduring legacy of leadership from the classroom to the halls of government exemplifies the transformative power of education and civic engagement. Now, therefore, we, the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, do hereby proclaim February 24th as Black History Month in the City of Fort Lauderdale. This is dated this day, the 20th day of February, 2024, signed by Mayor Dean Trantelis. Let's give him a hand. Would you like to say something?
Mayor, Commissioners, those present, I'd like to thank the organization for the award. It's been a long journey, but it's been quite fulfilling. Some of you may not know, my dad was the first Black city commissioner in Orlando, and that got me started in politics until I got kicked out of college at Kentucky State. Kicked out my senior year for keeping the girls out on campus past curfew. So it's been an uphill journey, but thank you so very much for the award.
So you're a bad boy. Turn this. Let me stay on this side.
That bag for him? Okay.
What's that? Yeah, it's kind of like the waffles. Yes. You want some? Okay. You're welcome. Okay. Okay, so that concludes our presentations. Going forward, we now have the rest of the agenda. The beginning of the agenda begins with a series of consent agenda items. Purpose of the consent agenda is to allow the Commission to consider and vote all at once all of these items. Normally they're regarding purchasing or accepting funds and so forth. If you have signed up to speak for any of these consent agenda items, we would ask you to come forward first and speak on behalf of that items. I see nobody who has signed up. No one has really signed up to speak on a consent agenda item. So I will just ask now the commissioners if they'd like to pull any to see if they'd like to consider any of these items separately. So Commissioner Herbst, do you have any items you wish to pull?
No, I don't.
Vice Mayor?
None.
Commissioner Glassman?
CP5. Thank you, Mayor.
And Dr. Sturman.
Before I begin, is it my imagination or the lights kind of low here? Is there any way they could turn them a little brighter?
Brighter?
Yeah. Oh, no, not here, but over there. It's sort of like it's in our faces a little bit, the background, if they could.
Oh,
or maybe
not here. I mean,
no, not into us, but out there. Yeah, if I can. Yeah. Okay, maybe I'm getting
my new
cataracts.
bionic eye can only take so much light.
Yeah. Okay, yes, Mr. Mayor, CP2 and CP3.
Wait, CP what?
CP2 and CP3.
Okay. Okay, except for CP2, 3, and 5, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman,
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst,
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalles.
Yes, and those items are now approved. CP2, Commissioner Sturman.
Yes, Mr. City Manager, Mr. Greg,
Yes.
you had explained this to me in when we went through pre-agenda, and then we went over it again, and I still have an issue with this. This is a $210,000, I guess, a booking fee or finder's fee, and
Yes.
I know that you had described that in order to get some of the talent, we needed to pay this in order to get some of the big ticket talent for things like
Yes.
like 4th of July and things of that nature. But when we do book that talent and we do pay them the fee, the agents get a piece of that fee anyway. And the question is,
Wait. You said when we pay that fee, which fee are you talking about?
when we pay the fee for the talent, for the artists that are going to, we pay them money, and did their agents not get paid out of that amount of money?
So in the past, the way that this was procured, it was one fixed price with everything together. Right now, what we're doing is we're segmenting this out. And right now, we did a procurement process for the talent agents themselves and what they get.
But did the talent, in addition, do the talent agents also get money from the talent? So now we're like double paying.
We're not aware of that, but Carl right here will explain more.
And what did we do in the past? We've gotten some great names without it costing us $200,000, $210,000. I'll come back to that in a moment.
Sure.
But Carl, if you could explain how this fee goes.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Carl Williams, Parks and Recreation Director. So when we talk about procuring this particular item, so we have booking agents. They have their own set fee. Through this process, there's a couple different fees associated with them. And we, as far as process-wise, I'll have our procurement officer kind of speak to that. But we work with them to secure the talent. They have their separate fee, and then we also have a fee that we pay the talent separately. And then there's also production fees, and we also buy out their riders, which is accommodations for them.
In the past, have we always had, I don't remember this going forward. Have we always had this? Have we always paid a separate fee to the agent in addition to the, here we go. Thank you.
Commissioner Glenn Markles, Chief Procurement Officer. The answer is yes. It was pretty much lump sum, and everything was incorporated. What we're doing differently here is that we're allowing the talent agency to book the talent, and then we will pay for the talent and then a percentage back to the talent agency. So let's say, for example, the talent will cost the city $10,000 and it's 20%. We'll pay the talent agency $2,000 for the overall cost.
Have we done that in the past, or did the 2,000 come out of from the talents part of it?
It was all inclusive. So
we're now paying more than we've done in the past. We're paying. No, they had a net $20,000 or $10,000, and now they have 10 plus. We're paying the fee on top of that. In the past, it came out of their fee.
yeah, and I hate responding to your question as this way, but it depends. If we were going straight to the talent, then we would pay the talent. If we couldn't get enough talent interested in our event, we will get the talent agency to go search the talent.
Has this
on
been a
behalf of the
problem
city.
in the past? Have we had to pay an agent up front beforehand, or this is
Again, it all depends on the event.
Well, 210 seems like a lot of money. I mean, that's just my take on it.
Yes.
Maybe I'm the odd man out here, but
And that's up to $210,000 does not mean that we're going to spend $210,000.
For many events, for all city events that are planned throughout the year.
Right, and we also, I'm sorry, just for point of clarification, we also are within the budget parameters as well. So, in other words, we're not going without approval spending above what our threshold is per event.
So if we didn't do this, would be at Mr. Gregg? Sorry, if we did not do this, would we be at risk of not being able to book? Do we need this to book the talent?
So right now, we want to be more transparent than before. Again, before we would book the talent, the fee all together as one. Right now, we're being even above board and doing this with a very transparent procurement method. So you all see who are the talent agents that are going to help us get the talents who have contacts, and we negotiate the price that they will perform at and what they will do. That's what the talent agent does. So if we don't have this, it really puts us back to how we were in the past, which was a bit less transparent. So we could revert to that, but it's not advisable.
Well, actually, it was not transparent at all, because this is the first time you're really actually sending out a bid for these responders. It was never that. It was hidden. This is a much better process because you put it out to bid, you saw who the responsible bidders were, and now it's out there, and it's not like it was just a secret sole source that was being done. This is a much better process.
That's what we're attempting to do.
Thank you.
You're absolutely correct. Pursuant to the procurement ordinance, entertainment is exempt from the code. We're going through a competitive process to secure the talent.
Exactly. Thank you.
Commissioner Sturman?
Thank you. That's it.
Would you like to introduce the item?
So go ahead. Yes, so introduce.
It's actually a motion. I'm sorry. You
Okay,
move
this
the
is
item.
not
Do I
right.
hear a
Okay, it's a
second?
motion. Yeah.
Move the item. Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. On CP2, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Yes. Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes. CP3, Commissioner Sturman.
Okay, just a couple quick questions about this. Would this go to you, Greg, or who goes to CP3?
It could be to either of us. Glenn Marcos is here, and also we have Darren Mills for
Is
Westway.
Darren Wells here?
Yeah, Darren Wells
Oh,
is
there
here.
you are. How can I miss you?
Well, these are just two pretty simple things. I mean, is this it's a 3-year with a 5-year extension, and this is for I mean, I think according to this, you have the option without having to come back to the city commission to renew without coming back to us. Is that how this is written?
No, Glenn Marcos is going to.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner, that's correct.
Okay. I mean, my thought was go ahead, but I mean, maybe they should come back to. I mean, go ahead and approve it, but with the city commission not being cut out of the process, maybe I think it probably behooves us that at the end of it, come back to us for the renewal. I don't have a problem approving it, but I think that we should still be part of that renewal process. That's my take on it.
So let me explain the process here. This is a piggyback, Commissioner. It's a revenue-based agreement. Roughly, we are anticipating $106,000 worth of revenue annually. Obviously, we are riding on the coattails of the City of Tamarack. So the City of Tamarack renews their option for 5 years. Then we ride their coattails, and we will do the same thing. So normally what happens with all of our agreements is that we asked for the commission to delegate the authority to renew contracts to the city manager.
Two quick things. It says it's 365 costs, but it's actually producing revenue. It's not a cost.
No, it's actually revenue-based contract, and if you multiply roughly $106,000 a year, multiply that by the initial term, which is I think it's effective through 2027, with one option to renew for an additional 5 years.
Would it jeopardize anything if it came to us, or something that needs to be done?
No, basically it's a routine towing agreement. We're not here to negotiate rates. Those rates are established by Broward County. So there's nothing exciting about the contract.
Would you like to have comment? Come up here. Thank you.
Darren Wells, Vice President, Westway Towing. Just to add to what he said, this new contract actually saves the city about $50,000. The previous contract, the city was paying us to tow your units. Any city-owned vehicle outside the city limits, you guys were paying. Anything outside the county of Miami-Dade, a lot of officers live in Loxahatchee, Florida City. I'm not charging for any city vehicle in the Tri-County area. So the cost savings is about $50,000 a year to the city. And I'm holding 150 hold cars at no charge. The police department doesn't currently have a facility for state attorney holds. And that cost to us is about $300,000 a year of warehouse space just to hold the vehicles.
Okay, thank you very much.
You got it. Any good cars? Just asking.
Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments.
Would you like to move the item?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and that item is approved. CP5, Commissioner Glassman.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So these will be some questions for Mr. Rogers, Ben Rogers. These questions came to me from Flagler Village Civic Association in District 2. There are some concerns about this, so I'm going to just go through those with you, Ben. So first of all, the one-way pairs with Andrews and Third, this goes back, about 6 years now? 6 years. So there's concern about whether this is even relevant now, based on the fact that the downtown corridor has changed so much, and that perhaps what we thought might have been a good idea 6 years ago is no longer a good idea. And I read the scope, and I went through everything, and I'm just wondering if you feel that this is still a relevant program.
Yeah, so to answer that, Commissioner, we have received some concerns or some feedback about that same topic from other people in the community. From a staff level, we feel that it is prudent to continue with this because it's a planning exercise. It's going to do a lot of data collection, and it's going to give us back pros and cons for each of the different concepts and things that could help either develop that forward or alternate approach in the future.
Okay, but
Can I respond to that also?
Go ahead.
So back in the day, there was quite a bit of time and effort devoted to the study and the analysis of the Wave streetcar. And at that time, there was a significant amount of input from the community, pro and con the Wave streetcar. And the previous commission had approved the Wave streetcar, and during the process, even after procurement of federal funds, the community decided it wasn't appropriate, not because the idea of having a downtown circulator was wrong, but the methodology. The overhead wires, the rails in the street, everything would be so disruptive and take so much time to complete, and the possibility of a significant amount of financial burden on the city would befall the city because of unexpected costs and inflationary pressures. So after the commission at that time decided not to go forward with the Wave streetcar, the idea of having a downtown circulator was still important to the downtowners because it was a way for people to get around without having to get into a car. So some folks in our transportation department, as well as with the MPO, came up with an idea of doing it with a surface rubber-tired circulator, and to accomplish that would require the city to create a one-way system going from Sunrise, I think, to 17th Street, I believe, to create a system whereby there would be a dedicated lane for a multi-passenger vehicle, maybe even an autonomous vehicle, should we ever get to that point. And it would be scheduled for people who want to take it within the downtown, and something they could rely on. It didn't require rails in the road or overhead wires, and still accomplish the same thing that the original Wave streetcar was supposed to accomplish. That purpose is the underlying reason for wanting to do this, and the purpose for this measure tonight is to allow staff to proceed to see whether or not it's feasible to move forward on that, and I'm hoping that the commission will consider it and approve it.
Thank you, Mayor. Ben, next question. I just want to make sure that this in any way doesn't detract from what we do need to do in the area in terms of the Flagler Village neighborhood, because that is also a fear that because of the way this drags out, lengthy timeline, issues like crosswalks, sidewalks, traffic calming just might be negatively impacted by this study. Are we going to still be able to move forward with those kinds of concerns for the neighborhood? I mean, everyone knows what's happening in Flagler Village in terms of the growth. It's really just been an explosion of population. But we are just lacking those kinds of connectivity issues, the sidewalks, the crosswalks, making it much more of a pedestrian-friendly area. So I just want to make sure that, we've already been through a very lengthy process on this. Is this going to negatively impact us moving forward with those concepts?
No, we'll continue to work on those initiatives that you're talking about to improve the area. One of the things that we haven't planned is probably going to be in March or April is coming to the commission and repurposing some funding to do a downtown master plan and to really evaluate some of those things that you're talking about.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, these are county roads. So, I mean, will the county be willing to proceed with improvements that I've just mentioned while we're going, through this study?
Yeah, I think so. I think we all know that there's a planning phase, a design phase, and then the construction phase. And one of the reasons that this item took so long to get to you is that we did a lot of collaboration with all of our partners at the Broward County in different divisions.
Okay, because again, that's another major concern in the neighborhood that, while we go through this study and while we take a look at everything, especially with regards to Andrews and Third, we're not going to be able to do the improvements that we want to do because of their control over those roads. And the fact that they might just be saying, let's just, wait to see. Is it possible, or is it even a consideration to expand the scope, to look at alternate scenarios here to alleviate traffic issues, to look at something else, or is that just going to be narrowly focused on this particular street?
Yeah, so this study will give us 4 different alternatives, different situations that they're going to evaluate, and come back with, again, the pros and cons of each, and hopefully a recommendation on what would work best, if any. If we expand the scope, we'd have to go back through the process. It did take quite a while, and we'd also have to fund it from the city side. So my recommendation would be to keep it with its current deliverables.
Okay. Well, that being said, again, I just want to make sure, city manager, Ben, that we are going to still be looking at things like crosswalks, lane diets, lanes for alternate modes of transportation, just to make sure that we're supporting the growth and we're supporting the population in Flagler, because I'm not getting a lot of positive feedback about the one-way pairs. I'm just not, unless people are just thinking that it is great and they're not telling me that they think it's great, but I'm just not hearing that. So I'll support the item, but reluctantly, but also just to make sure that we are not going to neglect the things that the neighborhood's really looking to see happen in terms of improving those streetscape functions. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
you said something that with my due diligence I missed. You said that this was initially connected to the Wave car.
No. The Wave streetcar was the program that was considered and voted upon by a previous commission a number of years ago, which was a streetcar system.
Right.
And then a later commission decided not to go forward with it. But out of that, the conversation was, well, we still thought that a downtown circulator was important, and let's come up with an idea, a methodology that still addressed the positives that the Wave streetcar was going to accomplish, but without the negatives. And some of those negatives were the overhead wires, the rails in the road, the fact that the streetcar would be in the middle of vehicular traffic, so you really couldn't set your watch to it because with the one-way pairing, there'd be a dedicated lane just for the multi-passenger vehicle, things like that. So I think that's what the study's about, to determine the feasibility of something like that.
So, but was that this one-way pairing study, was that considered before?
No, it was never considered.
That was never considered before. No. So when we were having the conversation with the Wave Street car project, this is when that conversation came about.
Afterwards, yeah.
This was a consolation prize after we killed the Wave. So it was like, what do we do now?
I don't know, Commissioner, if that's the way I would look at it. But it was an alternative method to try to accomplish the goals of a downtown circulator.
That's one way of phrasing it, yes. So, yes, after we terminated the Wave, we were trying to figure out, to your point, Mayor, some way to enhance movement of traffic in the downtown area. But, I think the important thing here we look at, this is 2018 versus where we are today. Our downtown has changed substantially. And I don't know that the one-way pair plan that we envisioned in 2018 is relevant to what our downtown looks like today. I'm not sure that this is really going to make a difference. If we were paying for this entirely with grant funding, I could be a little more supportive, but I see we've got $100,000 of city funds in this. Am I looking at that correctly?
That's correct. The funding is split $100,000 for the city, $25,000 for the DDA, and the rest for surtax.
Yeah. I can't support spending $100,000 of city funding on a project from 6 years ago that I don't think is relevant. Again, this was, as you point out, Mayor, this was a response to the termination of the Wave. We're so far past that I just don't think it's relevant anymore.
Well, Dean, can I?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, and again, this is not an endorsement for or against. I'm just trying to remember the incentive behind this. I mean, you have, for Andrews and Third, you have 2 lanes in each direction and a turn lane. If you're going to be adding one dedicated lane, I mean, again, with the streetcar, it would have been rail, but this could be a high-speed vehicle.
It would be a dedicated lane.
A dedicated lane just for that. If you don't have... If you have 2-lane traffic, you're going to be taking up half the lane in each direction. If you have one-way pairs, you'll have 5 lanes in each direction, and it's not going to.
Well, the idea is people will get out of their cars and into this vehicle, and that way, people who live in the downtown would be able to go to a Publix or get their hair cut or whatever. I mean, keep in mind a couple things. We have some pretty intense developments that are about to happen. We have the Charlie Ladd, Steve Hudson development that is under construction. We have the Searstown construction, all of which are very intense development projects. And so, yes, I agree with Commissioner Herbst that the city of 2018 is not the city of 2024, but it's actually the demand for it is even more today because the concentration of population has gotten even greater. And so people want to be able to live and work and go to visit the necessities of life within their neighborhood. And if they can do so without getting into their car, if they could hop on one of these passenger vehicles, then this feeds right into the whole concept of mass transportation.
Well, the question is, and maybe Ben, you can answer this: is one-way pairing a prerequisite to having a dedicated lane for a high-capacity vehicle like the mayor's talking about? In other words, could you do it the way it is now, or would you need to have one-way pairs in order to give up a lane? Is it necessary?
Well, to answer your question, and I know you directed it to him, but
okay, go ahead.
The reason of doing it is so that you have a dedicated lane. Mm-hmm. Before, when the concept of the Wave streetcar, you would sit in traffic. And this way you have a dedicated lane, And that way, a person can count on it when it's going to arrive, when it's going to depart, and there's some logic to it. Otherwise, a streetcar was just going to sit with all the other cars, and there was no really benefit from
Right,
it.
I understand that.
Remember that?
Right, that was my question, actually.
But the goal is to get less cars on the roadway, right?
Right.
Did we have circuit then? We have circuit now.
No, we didn't.
Is that something to consider in this conversation?
And
that we
Vice
have
Mayor,
an additional.
I think there's two prongs. I think one, as the mayor keeps alluding to, the circulation of mass transit, but two, also efficiencies in vehicle movement. So optimizing intersections and the way people turn, the signalization. I think there's two prongs to that benefit.
And I think that's one of my concerns, Ben, and I thank you for bringing that up because, the one-way, I had the misfortune of going to high school and college in Manhattan. And, one-way streets there are quite problematic because now you've got to make left in order to make a right. So it creates a lot of unnecessary congestion in the downtown area when you can't get to where you want to go because of the one-way street. So I know there are communities that have one-way pairs that are actually converting them back now into two-way streets. So there's a little bit of conversation on both sides of that issue where they work best. One of the things I know that they tend to do is they actually tend to speed up traffic because now you've turned Andrews Avenue to a highway. So I know that's a concern as well. And as we're trying to focus on, how we can reduce traffic fatalities, creating a 3 or 4 lane road all going in one direction, again, the data shows it tends to speed up traffic. So now we're going to have to focus on traffic calming, even though we're creating an environment that's actually more conducive to people driving fast. So,
well, don't you think we should perhaps study the data rather than speculate as to what data says? Because, it doesn't become a highway when you have 6 traffic lights in a 10-block distance. I mean, it's still going to regulate traffic one way or the other. I mean, to study something seems to me the best way to approach ideas, not to just speculate as to the good and the bad. And that's all this is tonight, is just to study it. It's an idea. It could hold great promise. And I think that it behooves this commission to try to work with the community, see how the community can interact with this idea. And if it makes sense, then let's go forward with it. If it doesn't make sense, then we know that we've tried and that that we have to look for other alternatives for traffic mitigation. Keep in mind one of the biggest concerns that this city has to confront is traffic mitigation. It's neighborhood surveys year after year put traffic at the very top of the list. If we're doing nothing except saying, oh, woe is me, it's never going to work, we can't think of creative ideas, then we're never going to get out of this mess. And we're going to create more of a mess with more development without anticipating the needs of people trying to get around the downtown. And it's just, I just think it's short-sighted not to want to go forward with this.
Mayor,
Anyway.
I actually agree with that assessment. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I have my concerns, but I want to make sure we're going to be moving forward on a parallel path to take care of those concerns. But Ben, just walk me through this because I want to make sure I understand 100% and the community understands 100% what we've already committed to, what we've already spent, and what we're planning on spending. So if I look at the CAM, and I'm on page 1 of the CAM, actually, yeah, page 1. In 2018, we included this as part of our transportation surtax referendum initiative. DDA weighed in and gave us grant funds of $25,000, right? Okay, so that's just sitting in a pot somewhere, $25,000. On September 17, 2019, the City Commission adopted a resolution to accept those grant funds and authorize execution of a grant agreement with the DDA. In addition to that DDA funding, during that same year, the city allocated $102,500 towards the project. So the City Commission voted $102,000 back in 2018 towards the project. So that's sitting somewhere?
2019, yes.
But that's still sitting untouched?
That's correct.
But we committed as a commission to do that. In 2020, the project was awarded transportation surtax funding. That's from the county, right? For planning, $195,000.
That's correct. That's what we're here for tonight.
They gave us that, $195,000. That's why we're here. But, correct me if I'm wrong, they've also committed to giving us for design $780,000 in the future, and $5,525,000 for construction.
That's correct.
And those are granted already as the process moves forward, if it moves forward.
Yeah, when they awarded the project to us, they allocated funding for those 3 phases in future years.
Okay, so that's a given. So, and then on January 10th, 2023, we adopted a resolution approving that interlocal agreement with Broward County and the city for funding, again, in the amount of the $195,000. So what kind of timeline are we looking at to make good on the county's funding of $780,000 for design and $5,525,000 for construction?
So right now, the first step is the planning. That's what we're here today for, to award this contract. Once we get this contract awarded, it would be about 11 months for the study to be completed. At that point, we would come back and do a presentation to the commission and then determine next steps. And then we'd also have to coordinate with Broward County on when the future design funding would be available.
Okay. So then, Mayor, it makes sense to me, it's common sense to me, actually, that we do approve this, because there's a lot of money that the county has already said, yes, we're committed to giving you this. Again, to me, I want to see what this study says. We'll get the study in 11 months. We'll pick it apart. We can all review it. And then we can decide if it makes sense or not. But I think it is premature now to put the brakes on it at this moment in time before we actually do this study.
I agree.
Thank you.
I agree. Okay. Any further comments?
One other,
Yes,
Commissioner Glassman, you mentioned when you began your summary or overview about this, you were saying that some of your constituents they were not comfortable with this. Was it a large number or just a few people?
No, well, this came from the Flagler Village Civic Association, which is heavily impacted by Andrews and 3rd Avenue one-way pairs. It's not that they are against it, but they were concerned about all the points that I made, that if this moves forward, that would be to the detriment of the other improvements that they want to see, like sidewalks, crosswalks, other ways of dealing with and allowing for bicycles, things like that. They want to make sure that if we move forward with this, that the county is not going to say you can't do anything else. They want to make sure that we're moving on a parallel path where not only are we studying this, but we're also creating those connectivity issues for the neighborhood.
And I think Ben addressed that and answered you. Yeah. Things are going to continue one way or the other.
Yeah, we'll continue to advocate and work with the neighborhoods and with Broward County. Again, I'm not the
But
decision.
also to move forward on those other projects.
That's correct.
All right.
And Vice Mayor, just to provide a little more depth, part of the study is public involvement with residents and business owners within the influence area.
Okay.
And then the SWOT analysis, or the strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, includes constructability, downtown access and circulation, emergency response, police, fire, and other emergency response times, economic sustainability, curbside management, retail storefront exposure, accommodation of transit facilities, sense of place considerations, effective use of right-of-way, transit accommodations, bicycle accommodations, and pedestrian accommodations.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Glassman, would you want to move the item?
Yes, I'll be happy to make the motion to approve.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman,
No.
Commissioner Sturman,
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst,
No.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the item's approved. Moving on to M1, motion approving an event agreement and request for extended road closures beyond 10 a.m. on the Barrier Island on the Las Olas Triathlon. One person signed up to speak, but Troy, just to answer questions, right? Where's Troy? Yeah, there you are. Anyone have any questions with regard to this? Someone like to move the item?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman,
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst,
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes. You're a better man than I. I might need the road closure till 10 a.m. the next day. Thank you. Good luck. M2, motion approving an event agreement with request for music exemption and related road closure for Fort Lauderdale Film Oscar Party. No one signed up to speak. Anyone have any questions? There
Is this
being
at
none.
the old Cinema Paradiso, the Savoy Center?
Say it again?
What used to be called the tongue twister, Cinema Paradiso.
Paradiso, yeah.
The Savoy Cinema, that's where it's at?
I believe so. Hold
Yes.
on.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's where it's at.
What a gem that is to our community. I love that place. Oh, yes.
You want to move the item? Okay.
Yeah, let me move it. Yes,
do I hear a
please.
second?
Sure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman,
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst,
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and M2 is now approved. M3, a motion rejecting all proposals for temporary modular fire station. Request for proposals, event number 172. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I just want, if I can, that's in my district, and that was explained to me by the city manager. And just for the sake of the public, we've already discussed this, but just so you could, I mean, it says temporary modular fire station, and it looks by the title that it's a temporary fire station until they're building the permanent one, and that's not it at all. And as you explained, it's a matter of the construction style and technique. So if you just want to explain that.
Sure. So that's the type of system or facility. It's called temporary modular, but it would be a fire station that will be equipped for service. Actually, Chief Goen, I want to ask if he can come up and describe more in detail how that is assembled and how it works.
Well,
and also,
well, the big question was that it implies it's temporary, but this is not temporary.
No.
There's nothing
Right.
temporary about it, right?
Chief Goen will provide a response.
Good evening, Stephen Golan, Fire Chief. We originally were moving forward with the idea of a temporary modular fire station, which was a new construction technique that is being used throughout the country. When the pricing came back, it was substantially higher than what we originally had forecasted with it. So we decided to go ahead and rescind those and come back to a traditional concrete type of fire station.
Just so the public knows, we were never going to build a temporary station. It was always going to be a permanent station, but the name of it was temporary only.
That is correct,
And just-
Commissioner.
okay, thank you. And thank you for explaining that to me, Greg.
You're welcome, sir.
I could move that if you want.
Okay, the motion has been made to approve, to reject. Do I hear a second?
Motion to reject.
Yes, exactly.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman,
I'm confused.
We're rejecting all proposals for a temporary modular fire
It
station.
was too expensive.
If you vote yes, you're rejecting. Okay,
Yes.
that's a yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman,
Thank you, Commissioner Beasley Pittman. Yes.
Commissioner Herbst,
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes. M4, a motion approving a funding agreement for Broward County Habitat, Community Housing Development Corporation in partnership with Habitat for Humanity, Inc., construction of residential properties for home ownership for low to moderate income families. One person signed up to speak. Nancy, you're speaking on behalf of the item, right? Where are you, Nancy? There you are. You don't have, do you want to speak?
Yes.
Okay, come on.
Nancy Robin, thank you. CEO, Habitat for Humanity of Broward, and Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, and City staff. I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for the way that you all as a city have championed homeownership. There are plenty of incentives right now. We need homeownership for developers and rental housing, and we need that. And developers can make money coming in to develop affordable rental unit is invaluable and providing hope to the Habitat. You all were here when the Habitat families were here, but our Habitat families mirror the workforce of Broward County to a T. We had 35,000 families apply This is 20 units. That's how desperate the need is. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for your championship of affordable home ownership.
And thank you, yes, again, thank you for what you do. No one heard you, Commissioner, because your mic wasn't on, but...
Thank you for what you do. Yeah. And thank you for Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear a motion to approve M4?
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
Been moved and seconded?
Oh, let Pam could do the motion. It's her, she's affordable housing, so Pam and Steve.
Okay, Pam, you have the honor of moving
that
M4.
motion, yes.
So moved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman.
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman.
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst.
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman.
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and that item is approved. M5, motion approving the second amendment to the lease agreement between One East Broward Owner LLC and the City of Fort Lauderdale, substantially the form provided. I have one person who signed up to speak, Brooke, but that's just for, where's Brooke? Did she leave? Oh, just for questions, yeah, okay. Someone like to move the item?
So moved.
Been moved, do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman.
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman.
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst.
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman.
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the item's approved. M6, motion approving an agreement for purchase of trees, palms, and plants. Aren't palms trees? From Gardening Angel Nursery, Inc. $6 million. It's a lot of trees.
A lot of palm trees.
I think, I'm not sure this. I think certain types of palms technically are not trees. If
I don't know. No, actually, they're grass.
Right.
Actually, they're grass. I remember that from botany class, which I never took.
They're not.
I think I learned that on TikTok.
See, come to City Hall and you'll learn some science.
They're not mammals?
They're not mammals.
Oh, okay, just checking.
Wrong class.
But they are plants.
Oh, but there are some mammals that are plants. But,
Yes. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
Yes. Moved.
Been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman.
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman.
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst.
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman.
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and M6 is now approved. M7, motion approving the fiscal year 2025 City Commission priorities. Any questions? There being none, someone like to move the item.
Moved. Seconded.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman.
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman.
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst.
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman.
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and M7 is now approved. R1, appointment of board and committee members. Mr. Clerk, please read the names into the record.
Yes, for the March 5th resolution, Homeless Advisory Committee, Raymond Detman, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. Citizens Committee of Recognition, Eugene Ellis, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. Central City Redevelopment Advisory Board, Justin Greenbaum, nominated by Commissioner Herbst. And for tonight's resolution, Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, Arminda Figueroa, nominated by Mayor Trentalis. Cemetery System Board of Trustees, Scott Busa, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. Community Appearance Board, Matthew Cohen, nominated by Mayor Trentalis. Community Service Boards, Gary Hensley, nominated by Commissioner Glassman. Economic Development Advisory Board, Mariana Seiler de Jaeger, nominated by Mayor Trentalis. Education Advisory Board, Deborah Rosenbaum, nominated by Mayor Trentalis. Aaron Gohl, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. Parks, Recreation, and Beaches Board, Charlie Leacoff, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. Marta Resko, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. Sunrise Key Neighborhood Improvement District, Milton Jones, nominated by Commissioner Glassman. Sustainability Advisory Board, Kelly Charles, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. Whitney Dutton, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. And we have a few names that we received after publishing, and if we can add these as amended. The Beach Business Improvement District Advisory Committee, Ryan Frederick. He's a primary member representing Sonesta Fort Lauderdale Beach Resort. Jeffrey Peterson, alternate member, also representing the Sonesta Fort Lauderdale Beach Resort. And the Insurance Advisory Board, Joseph Pachura Sr., nominated by Commissioner Sturman. Mark Schwartz, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. And Ted Hess Sr., nominated by Commissioner Sturman. And that rounds it out.
Okay, are there any additions or modifications? There being none, would someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
The resolution's been introduced. Please call the roll.
And Commissioner, that's as amended.
As amended, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, appointing or nominating, if applicable, board and committee members as set forth in the exhibit attached hereto and made a part hereof. Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman.
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman.
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst.
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman.
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and those individuals are now appointed to those respective board and committees, and we appreciate your commitment to the city of Fort Lauderdale and the sacrifice you make on our behalf. R2, resolution supporting the submission of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Transportation for the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity grant program for the new river crossing. Someone like to introduce?
Yeah, what is the dollar amount and what would be our match? Those are the two questions.
Yeah, so the grant that we're going after is $2.5 million.
Right.
That has a 20% match of $500,000.
$500,000. Okay, so the proposal is a resolution going after the grant, but could I make a proposal with an amendment going forward, Mr. Mayor?
Wait, say that again. What was your question?
I want to introduce the resolution with an amended.
Okay.
With going forward with this, partnering with the county.
How does that work?
Well, partner. I mean, it's if it's $500,000, partner with the county. That is splitting the cost with the county.
Oh, okay. So you're asking us to see if we can get a reimbursement like we did for the White House report.
Correct.
We can certainly ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can reach out. I can't commit to that, and I know that they've allocated funding for their analysis. So I don't know how interested they would be on funding our effort.
Okay.
Okay. There's no saying we're going to get this grant.
Right.
So,
if we get the grant, what specifically, how would it be used? What would it cover?
Yes, as the city manager said, we're working on the entire crossing in the system and what it would entail. But the $3 million that we're looking for or to use right now has cross sections, ventilation, life safety measures, resiliency, sustainability, construction impacts. The second one is dealing with stakeholder engagement and public outreach. Mm-hmm. And the third one is economic benefit to the community, which would be some of the studies that are required if we move forward in a federal process.
Okay. If we receive the grant, if we're awarded the grant, when does the timeline start with the grant?
I am not sure of that, Vice Mayor. I can look into that.
Okay. Let me rephrase my question. I'm trying to find out, could these funds be used for, is this to cover the studies like through BDO?
Yeah, we would probably go out and have a consultant do these on our behalf.
Okay. All right. Would that be BDO?
I don't know that answer. A lot of the grant requirements have certain procurement rules until we would get to the agreement portion. Okay. I can't answer that. Okay, because
the second part of that question is, if we're awarded today, and we're using BDO, can we back pay them or is it pre-post alliance?
Typically, the grant agreements, especially the federal ones, don't allow you to do that.
Okay.
But if we could use them, then the scope moving forward would be billable.
All right. But normally that's not allowed.
Typically that's the case.
Typically not allowed. Okay. Thank you.
Melinda, you had asked to speak.
Hi, good evening again, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Just wanted to speak briefly on behalf of the Downtown Fort Lauderdale Civic Association, as well as my role on the Board of Trustees for the Fort Lauderdale Historical Society, doing business with the groups, are very interested in the aspect of the grant that would involve community outreach. We really haven't had a lot of substantive information come to either group since FDOT did its presentations, which was actually in 2022. And I guess like the parameters of the grant, as Ben has explained, I don't see the downside. I think there's only upside for our community. as far as getting more information and having more community involvement. So just wanted to state the support by both groups. And again, as both groups, we've both recently reaffirmed our locally preferred alternative votes as the tunnel option. Both Downtown Civic, just earlier this month, the new board unanimously confirmed the tunnel option as our locally preferred alternative. And we re-voted as History Fort Lauderdale again last week. So I just wanted to let you guys know that.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this item?
So, Mayor, I have a question. I want to bring
Yes,
it
go ahead.
back up. So, Ben, is this duplicative of what the county's already doing with their study?
No.
I don't have full visibility into what they're doing, but I think that this is separate because we're primarily looking at the tunnel.
I'm sorry, we're primarily looking at, did you say it again? Looking at what?
We're looking at the system overall, but we're primarily focused on the tunnel, where I think the county's primarily focused on the bridge.
So this is a study, okay, but if this is primarily focused on looking at the tunnel option, that's different than what I thought we were doing with this. So the county is studying a bridge option, and we're still studying a tunnel option. So we're going to spend a couple of $1 million on a tunnel option study. Is that? So let's be clear about this, because that's not what I understood this to be.
So the way that the RIA grant was written, and the way that we're focused on the RAISE grant is the crossing, and it has language in there for bridges, for tunnels, for the crossing in the system as a whole. Over the last couple of months, our efforts have been primarily on the tunnel, and so that's why I referenced that, Commissioner Herbst.
Yeah. But it's for the crossing, you're saying?
That's correct. Our application for the RIA grant included all the alternatives, and our RAISE grant will have reference to all the alternatives. As we get direction from this commission, we can change some of that alignment. But the deliverables of the grant would be to focus on the system and the alternatives.
John, do you mind if I ask a quick question?
If I could, though, first, what's the due date on this?
The grant is due at the end of this month.
Okay, because I had asked for a copy of the grant application because I want to see exactly what it is we're asking for.
Well, honestly, John, let's think about this for a second.
Okay.
If the county is focused on a bridge, why would we want to duplicate their efforts?
No, I don't. Actually, I don't want to duplicate anything. I want to stand back and let the county do their work.
Well, the county's only focused on the feasibility of a bridge. So they're not really focusing on a neutral approach to the crossing.
Right. So because the county has already voted in favor of the bridge.
Right. So we have an opportunity here to flesh out the analysis, to broaden the analysis, and to provide information, because the county is not going to make a decision for at least a year, maybe 2, because that's how long it's going to take for them to complete their analysis. So in the meantime, why would we spend money to duplicate their efforts when, in fact, we are augmenting those efforts and providing the community with a broad range of information, whether it be for the bridge or the tunnel, as well as community impact, as Ben said, which is also going to be very important to scope out and to get feedback from the community as we move forward on this analysis. So, in fact, it would make no sense to really focus much attention on a bridge when the county's already doing that. So if we can provide them information on the tunnel, it would provide them with more information when they ultimately make their decision.
I believe that the county has already made this decision, Mayor. I don't think that this is up for discussion with respect to the county anymore. I don't think they're going to wait to make a decision on bridge versus tunnel. It's my understanding they have already made that decision.
They made the decision to examine the feasibility of a bridge, 2 different sizes. And that's what this is for. If it turns out at the end of their analysis that they can't build either bridge, then we would be there with another analysis showing how perhaps the bridge was not the best locally preferred alternative, and we have a complete analysis showing how a tunnel would be the best alternative. Honestly, I think that's not money well spent. They're $2 million, because I think ultimately they're not going to be able to find a solution through the bridge. But I think it behooves us. I think this commission voted to determine the feasibility of a tunnel, And if the tunnel's not feasible, then you guys voted to support a bridge. Well, how do we know if we're even going to get there if we can't do the analysis on the tunnel? You don't want to shortchange your own resolution.
I thought that's what the BDO study we're doing right now is supposed to tell us, not another study on top of the study that we're already doing. How many studies are we going to do that continue to focus on the same thing, which is inconsistent with the direction we already know the county is moving in? As much as we try and change the tone of this conversation at the county level, I don't think we're moving the needle whatsoever. And I think what we're doing is we're delaying it and we are wasting money. I can't support this, Mayor.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just, Ben, when is the actual, you said it has to be submitted by the end of the month, right? Next month?
This month. The
This
due
end of
date is,
February.
I believe it's February 29th.
February 28th.
And then when do they make the determination on this?
It usually takes a couple months.
So within a couple of months, we would know.
Yes.
Okay, well then I don't see any reason why we wouldn't just apply, and then in a few months we're going to know anyway, which is way before anyone's timeline on this. So I don't see the downside to apply for this at all.
Okay, a couple questions.
Go ahead.
The RIA grant, that's $974,000.
That's
okay. Is there a local match on that one?
The Rio Grande did not have a local match.
Okay. So what were two thoughts that are kind of important here, that are very important. $250 we paid for half of White House, $35 for Lochner, $5 for Mooney, $75 for BDO, $325 for BDO. We're in it to the tune of $700 now. This will be another $500,000, so we're going to be over we're going to be 1.2 million into it at this point. That's number one. Just put that in the back. I'll come back to that. Put that in the back of your mind for a second. Number two, as I recall, the county just approved $2 million, and the $2 million is for several things. And part of that $2 million, it's not all for a bridge. If my information is correct, part of that is to evaluate the BDO, look at the tunnel, and to look at the data. They're not.
Where do you get that information from?
That's
never been disclosed to us at all.
But I did. I will tell you this: speaking to the county commissioners as well as MPO, at some point they are committed to looking at the BDO study.
So where did you get that information from? Who told you that? I'd like to know that because I've never been told that.
Several county commissioners as well as the BDO.
So, would you say Lamar Fisher was one of those? I mean, I'm going to follow up and find out.
I believe so, but I will get back to you.
We're going to find out.
Yeah, I will get back to you, but I am under the understanding that they will be looking at the BDO study. After our last resolution where we included them, the BDO is going ahead looking at some of the feasibility issues with the tunnel, and because of that, they will evaluate that and take a look at that. It's not a closed door at this particular point. Now that we've looped them in, they will look at that.
The reason why I ask you that is because I'm told the exact opposite of what you just said.
Or that they've decided against even looking at the BDO?
That the money that they've allocated for up to $2 million is to determine the feasibility of a 35-foot bridge and a 45-foot bridge. And that's all it's intended
and
to
I'm not, I was told, and again, I might be mistaken, but I was under the impression that some of that money also was going to be looking at the feasibility of the tunnel, whether it's that or maybe it's not that money, but I was under the impression they were planning on at least scrutinizing the BDO, well, taking a look at the BDO, the viability of the BDO study that we present. So they
don't labor under that impression. Okay. That is not the truth. That is not the case.
Well, okay. Well, we'll agree to disagree.
Okay.
But that being said, I think when we looped them in last time, at least we got them to the table, and we've done several studies with them. And to John's point, I think we go ahead. We can't do it without the county. I think it behooves us to include the county on everything we do. I think the one thing we don't want to risk is going ahead and saying we're going to continue doing studies without you. We're going to dig our heels in. Then we're going to lose the communication that we did build over the last month or so. I think we've got to include them on everything we do. And
but what happens if they choose not to include us?
No, we did the olive branch, and it seems to have worked. They seem to be at least
How has
listening.
it worked?
Well, they're talking to us now.
They're talking to you.
They're talking to me then. Okay, they're talking to me.
I want to know who you're talking to because they're not talking to me.
I think to John's point, we need to work together on this project.
I agree with you. In the press, say that whatever we come up with is nothing they're interested in, when they are very adamant about the very narrow path that they choose to take. I think it behooves us to continue to try to analyze the situation in a broader prospect, in which we analyze not just the bridge, but also analyze. I mean, do you want a bridge? Is that what you're saying?
No, I want a tunnel, but I don't.
So
want,
then let's focus on trying to get the analysis for a tunnel.
Yeah, but
everything you said is let's support the bridge. Let's support a bridge.
But
if
I
you
don't
want a bridge, just tell us. It's okay.
Dean, I'm not going to go ahead and say, listen, we're going to go ahead and do this without the county, and they're going to say, to hell with you, and then all of a sudden we're nowhere. You got to be strategic in what we do. We can't keep looping them out because they're. Out of spite or whatever reason, they're going to say no.
It's not out of spite.
Well, but Dean, we can't do this on our own. We can't build a tunnel without them.
But I think that
we've got to have them at the table.
We're helping them make a decision by doing the analysis through a grant program that's afforded to us by the federal government. We're talking about building a bridge, or not just talking about building a tunnel. We're talking about all the ancillary costs that are associated with each project. We're talking about eminent domain. That's going to be part of their analysis. If I continue to read about projects that are going to be built along the tracks, it's going to be a pretty costly venture for them to try to build a bridge plowing right through these projects. They're going to have to be taking hundreds of millions of dollars worth of land and projects in order to accomplish this bridge, which I don't think they're going to be interested in doing. And years of litigation with developers trying to fight back against those efforts to build a bridge through the middle of their property. So I think that we're actually helping the process by trying to do more investigation, come up with these analyses. By the way, Ben talked to us about the equity and neighborhood impact. None of that is part of the county study. This is something that the Biden administration has been so focused on, connecting communities, neighborhood impact. This is something that they're going to need even in their bridge analysis. So I just think that it behooves us to move this forward. And if we're really interested in wanting the tunnel, as you say you do, then this would be something that we should vote for and move the process forward.
Okay, have we spoken to the county about partnering with us with the RAISE grant?
I have not.
We've had no discussion with them, working with them with this.
I'm asking my question that
Why?
I asked last time.
Okay, I defer to Vice Mayor. Go ahead, Vice Mayor. Sorry.
How many more studies are we going to pay for? I have it. That is my concern. This is an additional $500,000. I understand everything that has been said tonight, and each time we have this conversation is always to prove to the county how this is what our results will show. At what cost? If we do this, in my head, we approve this tonight, and we go through, we get this study, and this county says, no, we're not going this way. Is there going to be another study?
No.
At what tune? At what dollar amount? This is out of
This is really the
control.
last. This is really
It's out of control with the dollar amount we're spending.
So if I may.
Greg, yes.
So Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners, what you are applying for, this RAISE grant, is for a planning project, is to understand the planning activities that as a city you all would need to take as decision makers of what you're going to do for example, the environment. How do we protect the environment, the impact to the environment? What are the safeguards that you would need to make as a decision maker to make sure that the system, whether it's bridge or a tunnel, that goes underway so that we minimize any impact for the environment? Equity analysis, think about economic development, businesses, and also stakeholders that invest in the core where this system will be constructed. And also community engagement. This is certainly going to allow the opportunity for you all as policy decision makers to gain community input. If you look at right now we're planning for City Hall, which is very, very far away. But that does take extensive amount of community engagement. We have to get a consultant. We have to do workshops. We have to put together a variety of input factors that will be available for you all as policymakers to make the key decisions when the system, again, even if it's decided by the county, a bridge, that's something that as policymakers you need to have on hand. And right now what I understand is that the county did approve to move forward with the design of a bridge, and that is fine. That is the system. So if that is the system, then you have at least funding for planning activities so that you can gain further information. So I'd rather, start saying planning activities than studies, because now this is something real that's happening. You need to plan for it so that you could have safe measures to safeguard the community.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I may, this is such an important project for our city. This is something that's going to impact our city way after any of us are even around. I just think that to quibble about a $500,000 expense when the grant is actually for $2,500,000 that we're applying for the federal government, $500,000 at this point, if it's going to get us over the finish line, if it's going to convince those decision makers that need to be in on this that this is the way to go, then that's not a big expense in terms of our budget. We spend more than $500,000 on events, parties in our city. Why would we not spend that money if this is going to be the study that's going to hopefully prove to people that this is the way we have to go? I hear from people all of the time on this issue. I'm not hearing from anyone that wants us to support a bridge, and I'm not hearing from anyone that wants us to give up in trying to have the facts, to try and have the planning, to try and show every single aspect that's involved in this monumentally significant project. I just think to not go forward with this, and by the way, there's no guarantee that we'll get this grant from the federal government, but to not try, I just think that's really short-sighted. Thank you.
Okay, any further comments?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Speaking to the MPO and Ben, the planning phase alone, I know there's a window to apply, but I think there's this conception that you apply by February, and by February we're going to have it planned. The deadline to get it started, the first step was February, and at least we got that first step. The county did the first step. The planning alone, from what I gather, is going to take a year or several years, just the first phase of planning, correct? Maybe I've heard it at least 2 years. The county could start looking at the bridge like they're going forward, and there's a window, a significant window, a month, 2 months, 6 months, a couple months down the line, where they could say, okay, listen, it doesn't make sense, and they're not locking in, and if it doesn't make sense, they could pivot. We had to start, and that last resolution at least said the city and county are working together. It got the first step in. Now that it's working, there is opportunity down the line to pivot if it doesn't make sense. And if their study shows that the bridge does not make sense, there's opportunity to pivot for the tunnel. So it's not locking it out. But what will lock it out, we do have to work with the county, and if we keep doing things without working with them, and we go resolutions without including them, and we decide we're not going to, this could antagonize them. This could doom the whole project, where we and the county and the city are not working together. It'll affect our funding, and I think it behooves us to include the county. If not, I think that it's going to be, it will. I hate to use the term derail the project, and it's the rail project, but it's not. There's no guarantee that it's going to be a bridge or a tunnel, and there's plenty of time. Go ahead. You want to comment?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to refocus you on the intent of this resolution, which is authorizing the city manager to submit the application. In order for the county to be included, their body would have to vote to consent to be joint applicants in the application. And the application requires that in joint applications that there be a description of roles and responsibilities of each project partner. So what that means with regards to the deadline that's stated, first, we would have to make the necessary amendments to the resolution, and then you would have to get the county commission to also vote and delegate authority to the city to submit the application jointly on their behalf.
What did we do with with the White House?
So this is a grant application that you have here.
But the White House was a joint project with the county. How did that work?
That's correct. We did an interlocal agreement with the county for that effort. Okay. So I think what Attorney Spence is saying is that just given the timeline with a week left, the vote tonight, we can include the county in our efforts. We can include our county as a partner. We can have them help us along the way. But for them to be an official partner on the
20% now.
So we wouldn't have to fund it until we get to the agreement process after the award.
And we can make a decision about funding it down the line.
Yes, but I will caution that it's not well received if we make this commitment, submit the application, and then turn away from it in the future. If the cost is the concern, obviously staff with BDO kind of scoped out what we would do for the next step of the $3 million. As the city manager said, this is a planning effort. This is trying to take it from where we are, come down on our city contribution, then the total grant amount would come down. So again, we're looking for your feedback and your approval for us to be able to submit this application.
It's not just money. It's antagonizing the county. It's going rogue. It's doing things on their own. It's doing things without consulting with them. I don't want to go back to the point where they're going to be stuck with the bridge, we're with the tunnel, we go nowhere, and we lose everything. And that's where we were until about a year ago, until about a month ago, about a month or two ago. So is it time to make the resolution? I made my resolution. Could
I ask one more question? Commissioner Stern, I thought you said that we're going to start spending our $500,000 not knowing if we're going to get the grant.
No.
Okay. No. All right. Just want to make sure I didn't mishear you, okay?
No.
You kind of caught me by surprise there.
No. I'd be against that.
And Mr. Mayor, I think there is a concern. I know that Commissioner Sturman asked to modify the resolution, but action in the partnership, but I don't think we could even put forth that.
Well, you can certainly commit to trying to find other sources to help pay for that rather than out of the general fund, correct?
At the end of the day, I think the city would be on the hook for the local match if we find something along the way.
We don't know if it's 500,000. We don't know if we're going to get the grant in full. So it's a number, but I do know that there are other sources of funding, and I think that we would have the time over the next 2 or 3 months to see how we can get contributions from other funding sources in order to help the city pay for that.
Yes.
Okay. Any further questions? All right. Where are we with regard to the resolution? Was it introduced?
I was introducing it with an amendment. I was in the process of doing that.
And what's your amendment?
And I will proceed, ready?
Okay.
I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to say that I support the submission of the grant with the stipulation that we partner with the county. And I know I've heard what you said, but I don't want to risk us sending a message that we need to include them. So I am going to stick with that, the resolution that I support submission of the grant with the stipulation that the county at some point does partner with us.
And I agree with you.
That's how I want the resolution to read.
May I ask for that clarification? So if we can open up Exhibit 1, which is the actual resolution, and page 2, if you would help me understand where that language would sit in this document that we're amending.
So unfortunately, I'm not the attorney here. So you would know where to place it.
No,
but
are you just
okay?
looking for a whereas?
Can you restate what it? Restate.
I'm supporting the submission of the grant application with the stipulation that the county agrees to partner with us.
Okay, so new Section 5 saying that during the analysis process, once the grant is given to the city, that the county participate in the analysis for which the grant is being awarded.
Well, it's not exactly. I mean, I want to support the submission of the grant application with the stipulation that the county will partner with us.
But how do we force that?
guarantee that?
Well, I mean, we could reach out to them, and we could. I mean, the logistics of how this goes, Ben.
No, that's the clarification I'm looking for. So the resolution authorizes the manager to submit the grant application and to sign the documents. So will he be able to do that if the county does not get back to them by the time?
You're doing things behind their back, and at a certain point, you can't have a partnership where one partner is doing things behind the back of the other. We've got to open this up and work with the county to I mean, if we do that and they're going to stay bridge, that's the end of the story.
How does it work then? Tell me how this is going to work.
The logistics of it, Greg is going to have to. I mean, Greg will have to work out how we do that.
Well, do what though?
Stipulate that we will go ahead with this with the agreement of the county. If the county agrees,
whereas if the county doesn't answer the phone call or answer the email to happen. If you come up with an answer, that's great. But I don't know how you get someone to participate in a week's time on something that is so important as this.
Well, can we just add a section that says that we move forward with this, but that we are going to reach out to the county and urge them to partner with us and
before we commit the funds.
Well, no, you can't do that because that's changing the entire nature. City manager, when they move forward,
Daphne from Government Affairs to help us understand what took place in that meeting. She has some notes from a video of the meeting so that you all can understand what was discussed from the county side. But no, we did not receive any invitation to that meeting.
Good evening. Third time's the charm. So at the the meeting that they had on the 6th, there was a certain period of time where there was discussion between the county design, not just renderings, but engineering was necessary.
Slow down. Slow down. Commissioner Geller said.
So Kevin Kelleher was presenting and said that a conceptual design, which includes some parts of engineering, would cost a little over $1 million. So that's in addition to any renderings that would be done for a 38 to 40 foot bridge, saying that the marine industries were okay with that height. The MPO is working on timelines to get into the next funding cycle. So they're working with Greg Stewart to be done in alignment with FEC in order to mitigate any type of eminent domain that would need to be taken with that right of way. BDO study with the $2 million and wants the $2 million and said that the $2 million would take into consideration the city's cost analysis and design, whatever BDO has in that study, to review the right-of-way versus eminent domain. Into that, and Commissioner Udine echoed the comments of Commissioner Fisher and said that they want to analyze all the alternatives. The $2 million is a strategy for design, but design has been used very broadly, as in design of a bridge or design of a bridge tunnel. So they are open to conversation with the city. I think it's just a matter of giving them a call in order to set up the meeting.
We have reached out for participation in meetings, but we haven't been able to coordinate any recently. No, we definitely, Commissioner Sturman, can continue seeing how we can coordinate efforts with the stand, how we can collaborate further.
So the county is looking at BDO. The tunnel is not dead on the county. They're looking at the bridge, but they are looking at the tunnel. And the big issue was we did the BDO without them, and that sort of broke down the communication. I truly feel that if we do this without county input, that they're not going to look at the tunnel.
Well, we did the BDO without the county input.
Well, no, what we did is
they're looking at
no. But if we don't include the county, and I do not want to doom this project because we can't do the tunnel without them, and I don't want to do something that's going to doom it that the county's not going to work with us. They might.
Can I refresh your memory on something? Okay, so first of all, had we not engaged BDO, they would never have taken the opportunity to review what BDO has to offer to us. Okay, number one. Number two, because we went ahead independently and was able to and are able to continue to pursue an analysis of the tunnel approach, that helps the county in making its decision and broadening its understanding of the best locally preferred alternative. Now, you might recall that we recently received a letter from Mr. Kelleher in which at the very end of the letter he said something, and I'll paraphrase, that the county has dismissed some of the approaches that we had offered, and that they will move forward with the bridge approach as agreed to by the City Commission of Fort Lauderdale. So from their perspective, they have assumed that we are really on board with the bridge because of the way you phrased your resolution, in which you said that if the tunnel is not cost effective, then that this commission should go ahead and agree to a bridge. And in order for us to assist in determining the cost effectiveness of the tunnel, we need to do these analyses. And I don't think that the county is doing a deep dive in these analyses in order to secure a proper basis upon which to make a decision. They will use a cursory analysis, much like they did with the White House group, to justify a predetermined decision on which they intend to go forward. I've heard from the lips of half a dozen of the county commissioners saying that under no circumstances will they do a tunnel, regardless of the cost. So when people like that say things like that, now I don't know who you've been talking to, but some of those same people have told me that there's no way they're going to support a tunnel because they feel that a tunnel is more expensive. If we can show through an analysis that that's not the case, that all things considered, not just the cost of construction, but also the cost of eminent domain and all the other ancillary costs that are associated with this, also the timeline, the ability to accomplish this and to construct this in a period of time far less than what was previously proposed to the county, I think it's a winner. And I think we've done the community a service. And I think there's no reason why we shouldn't move forward and do a further analysis, a deeper dive, and help the community understand the best approach and how it's going to impact their neighborhoods and the future of the city. As Commissioner Glassman said, this isn't about just our generation. For the next 150 years, this was going to be an important impact on our downtown. We've got a huge economic development engine happening. We have so much happening in our downtown. The whole idea of commuter rail was to spur economic development. But we have economic development. We certainly don't want to do something that's going to crush it. And to suggest a bridge at any height is not going to be a solution. And we have to show everyone, and I think we can, that the analysis upon which the county has been making its decisions has been based on insufficient and inadequate data, that we're able to now, through this grant, provide the broad range of information that they need and we need in order to further pursue the ultimately acceptable, locally preferred alternative. I just think it's a chance of a lifetime, and this is an opportunity for us to think 21st century and not just think that let's go with the cheapest, because it happens to be the most the one that they want to pay for. And I ultimately think the tunnel is going to be the least expensive alternative when all things considered. So, I mean, if you want a bridge, just say you want a bridge, and let's just not go, dance around it and try to pretend, we got to get the county involved, because to me that's just a distraction. I love the county. Everyone on the county commissioner is a friend of mine. I have a relationship with them over the years, and I will continue to have a relationship with them long past this debate. But the point is that we have to work together, and this is an opportunity for us to work with them by bringing something that we can help bring to the table. And if we don't see this opportunity today, then we've lost that opportunity for the future and for the rest of the century. And I don't think that's the best way to go about doing this. I think really behooves us to take advantage of it, and I think that this is an opportunity to do so tonight. So, anyway.
Could I go back to something that was just raised?
Go right ahead. The Dean said a few things. John, do you mind if I speak for a second? If you want to speak before me, I will yield.
If you don't, Warren, it's just one simple, quick question.
Okay, go ahead.
So thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Yield.
So, Ben, when you were describing all the things that are taking place under this grant, our resolution that we have previously approved is that we would support a tunnel if it was financially feasible. It doesn't sound from what you described that this grant is focused on determining what's financially feasible. It sounds like this is a holistic look at all of the things related to transportation and so forth. So please go back and tell me, is this study supposed to determine which is more financially feasible to construct?
So part of our current efforts include the cost estimation.
Our current efforts with BDO for what we're already paying for.
Correct.
Okay. So let's push that to the side. Let's focus strictly on this $2.5 billion that we're going to spend prospectively on some new consultant, because we are the consultant's full employment.
And Commissioner, I don't intend or mean to dodge your question, but I think I need to go back to what the city manager said, and that this is not necessarily another study, but this is planning and building on the work product that's been done to date. Will there be financial analysis in there? I can't tell you yes or no at this point. I can just tell you as the project develops, you get more confident in numbers, you get better projections, and you can further define the project, which would then relate in a more sturdy cost estimate.
Okay. I'm going to condense that down to no. Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
You've said three things that are blatantly erroneous.
Okay.
And I'm not yelling. I mean, I'm not being nasty about it. I mean, I don't mean to. I don't mean to offend you. I apologize, but I just. Well, let me rephrase that. Three things I need to clarify that I think are erroneous that you've mentioned. Number one, you keep saying the county doesn't want to even look at a tunnel over and over again. Number two, you keep saying.
How is that erroneous?
No, you had said they don't want to. Well, I'll tell you. Number two, you said as evidence, none of the $2 million is going to be looking at the tunnel at all. Not any of it is going to even evaluate the tunnel. And I'm going to have Daphne come in and read again what we said a few minutes ago, what we just went through. And the third thing you said, and I take exception to that, is that I do not want a tunnel. And you said, if I don't want a bridge, just say so. If I don't want a tunnel, say so. If I want a bridge, say so. You said that a few times. Let me refresh your memory. I was the one who made, and I'm not mad. I'm not, look, Dean, I love you. I'm not mad at you. But I was the one that made the motion after we had $75,000 for BDO. And I said, listen, let's keep our options open. Let's put another $325 in BDO. And I made the motion, and I supported the motion to keep the tunnel alive. I said, let's loop in the county. And based on my motion, the county, you said we need one more study. We need one more study just to keep it alive. And I supported that. Now we have a 974, another study. So it's not dead. The county is looking at it. It's a tightrope. We can't push, and all of a sudden it breaks. And go ahead and read that once again. The $2 million, the part that relates to the tunnel.
Commissioner Fisher wanted the design to reflect the height of the bridge, but also to take into consideration the city's BDO study with the $2 million. However, after I did...
Okay, we'll leave it. Okay.
Well, let her finish.
Okay, go ahead.
I did stop right before the additional comments of the additional commissioners. So Mayor Rich said that she was not in support of a tunnel, that she wanted a bridge, as well as Commissioner McKenzie had also said he didn't want that $2 million to go into any type of tunnel study and a support of a bridge. So there are commissioners who have publicly said that the tunnel is not a feasible option whatsoever and that they are fully supportive of a bridge.
But there are two people. Who are the first two people you quoted?
Commissioner Ryan and Commissioner Udine.
Okay.
To analyze the alternatives.
Okay, so it is...
there you go.
We do have the BDO study.
Well, we're not there yet.
But it's funded, and we approved it. And again, I put the motion forward to approve it. The county...
I know, but it wasn't
a 9-0 vote all of a sudden. They're not even going to look at it anymore. At least it's not dead. as you go forward, as they find out land acquisition and other costs, there's a reasonable probability that the tunnel will not be feasible. And we don't want to kill our relationship with the county right now, because it's not, there is room for pivot. If it makes sense, they could still pivot. And nothing is locked in. We were at the verge of having them lock in a bridge, and it's not, and now it's open again.
It's not open again.
Well, here's
the majority. She just said the majority said.
But it might, as they go through it, as they look at it, like you said, land acquisition costs and whatnot, it might not be feasible, and we want to make sure that the tunnel option is open. And I don't want to kill it. No, I think if we go without the county and we start continue to do studies without them and looping that, we're going to kill the opportunity to work with them. And I don't think it's worth the chance.
But don't you think that they have already...
My gamble is saying, listen, let's do the BDO, let's loop them in, and it did keep the door open. And I don't want to close the door with them by doing studies.
The problem is they closed the door on us, Warren. They didn't ask us about the motion that they made to spend dollars on a bridge analysis.
Okay. Let's go through timeline 74. So there's a couple of things that were time sensitive. This thing is going to take a couple years to plan. It's not like it's going to be planning the next month or two. We have to make this decision right this minute. But we're going to probably have to go back and look at other things. Once we're back on the same table, we have to, with the county, decide how we're going to work together going forward. What if we don't get this grant today? And the drop dead deadline was BDO, and then it was RIA, and it was all we need is the BDO, then all we need is the RIA. Another 35 million, 250 million, 5,000, 75,000, 325. We're up to 690. This is going to be well over 1.2 million if we go through this on our own without what is the if we let the BDO go through, let the county do the evaluation of everything, what will be lost with at least giving respect to the county so they have time to continue to work together with them? We're talking to them now. I know what's going to be lost if we go without them. The whole thing might be dead. But what will be lost if we wait and let the county, let the BDO go through, let the RIA work its way through, and try to get the county on board with the raise? And if we do or don't, what is lost if
we're
the
not
raise?
going to get the grant.
Here's what's at risk.
Is that the only grant?
Here's what's at risk.
Yeah.
So let's say that the county proceeds with the bridge, and that is the path, right? And let's say later on we get questions from business owners, from just different individuals that are adjacent to the system, and let's say there's interest to find out what is going to be the impact. We won't know. We would have to rely on the county to give us that information with their study. That's what would be at risk. In this case, you have the ability to apply for funding that you can find out that information. And again, looking at a system, what are the planning activities that we would need to do as a community, as a city, to make sure that the interests of the city and stakeholders in the core downtown, that they are attended? And if it's not for this funding, at some point, the city will have to at least either join with this county to make sure that happens, or spend money from general fund to make that happen. So that's what's at risk. It's a planning effort.
Do you have any further comments?
No. Okay.
And Ben also wanted to share some information as well as far as the BDO study.
Yeah, so right now we're on track to be back to the commission on March 5th to provide a substantial update, to talk about some of the alignments, some of the cost estimates, and hopefully a funding strategy at that point. Commissioner, to your point, what would be lost? It'd be a whole other year before we could apply for this planning grant. I also think there's some synergies at stake right now, since we were just awarded the RIA grant. We're getting ready to enter that agreement, so I think there's some synergies that might favor our raise grant application. And, you know, the deadline to submit the application is at the end of this month. Our next meeting is March 5th. You know, the one thing that we could do is when we get that BDO report or their presentation on March 5th, I think it's close enough to the application window that there could be a way to pull back that application without any harm or foul for the federal lens. But I can't speak to that. It's just another idea that if it would get approved tonight, and you see how all the dots connect when the BDO presentation happens on March 5th, that we could keep moving forward.
Repeat that for me again.
Yeah, repeat that. I mean, I'm not sure whether it says we
discourse or some ill-received feelings from the federal government about pulling back our application. If we would submit the application by the deadline, and 4 days later or 5 days later on March 5th, we get the BDO report, there's substantial concerns, and the commission said, hey, we don't want to commit that 500 now. I think it's close enough to the application window or deadline that we could pull it back.
Application would be received, and what our chances would be of actually getting this grant?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that BDO and we've been doing is trying to figure out the path forward and how we get a well-received application. Again, I don't know what the competition pool will look like. I can tell you that this grant has both capital.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, I just feel that we owe it to the residents of the city to move forward with this grant application. We need as many irons in the fire as possible. We need to have all cylinders on a go. And we're coming to crunch time, and I don't think that we have the time to just say no to this grant application. I wish there were more applications, but I just think that we need to be at a point where the synergy is working with what BDO is doing. We need more irons in the fire. And again, I think we really do owe this to the residents of the city. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Sturman, do you have any other points you'd like to make?
Okay, with that in mind, I think, again, submitting it with the stipulation that, again, that if you do not get county on board after that, going forward without county synergy is going to doom it anyway. So submit it, but with the understanding that the plan is that we need a partner with the county and have them split costs with us. But that's my take on it.
So when you say split costs, you mean for the
matching,
the
matching funds, yeah.
We can talk to them and
Okay,
ask
yeah.
if they'd like to contribute to that.
Okay.
But I think for this resolution, and as Attorney Spence has indicated, those funds before the deadline in a week. So I think what we could do is we could have language in there about providing notification to the county that we're going to be applying for this, that we're seeking partnership opportunities.
Yes.
We can, put a statement like that, and as like the mayor said, Section 4, Section 5, to show that we have the olive branch out there and that we want their participation. But I don't think we can commit via the resolution that they are a funding partner for us to be able to submit the application.
Well, you said that we do have a little bit of a window we submit, and afterwards, if it doesn't pan out, we could pull back.
I wouldn't recommend...
Like if the BDO...
Right, I wouldn't recommend that we do that. But what I'm saying is if there's some discomfort now, March 5th is close enough to the application window that I think if we submitted the application on February 29th and on March 5th informed...
It's already submitted, and whether to see what the county has said, see what BDO has said. I mean, things could line up that BDO could say, hey, listen, we made a mistake, or this is the best thing since sliced bread. Either way, they might have a report that makes it kind of obvious which way to go to us and to the county, so we could revisit it on March 5th.
Well, the county doesn't meet until March 7th.
But we'll have the BDO report by then. But we could also be speaking to the county by then and get a feel which way the wind is blowing.
Right, but once we submit the application, we submit the application. And it's not just the county, by the way, Commissioner, that we can maybe seek a partnership. We could also go to the MPO,
right,
which has funding, right? And so there, and by the time this is awarded, we'll have many months in which to try to cobble together enough money. First of all, it may not be $500,000. It may be $100,000 because we don't know how much the grant is going to be.
Right.
Let me tell you something. With this particular grant cycle, there must be $200-300 million worth of requests for maybe $50 million worth of money. So, they just like the $900,000 grant that we got, we applied. What was this grant application? Because we had received the previous application, and they want to continue to see us move forward with the analysis, and this is going to This is going to be a full-throated analysis, taking into consideration not only construction but other aspects of the impact of this type of new river crossing, as well as the opportunities that it presents. So that's the whole point. What commuter rail mean to the city of Fort Lauderdale? I still want to know what it means to the city of Fort Lauderdale. That bridge today bothered me when I watched it. It took 14 minutes before it came up again.
Well, hey, I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about that for a minute. I know we're going on and on, but this is important.
Okay. Okay, you said
let's
9
talk
o'clock.
marine.
You said 9 o'clock. I didn't.
How much do I owe you? I said 3 hours, so I got another half hour. I mean, the marine community, right now, there were 24 trains a day going on there at grade level. 24 with freight.
Right.
Brightline now added 36, so they're now up to 60 trains a day.
Right.
60 trains. Doing nothing is not an option. I mean, you can't. The 60 trains is now already impacting, and now there's going to be 105 with commuter rail.
Commuter rail doesn't come through the city yet. It only comes up to the hospital.
Right, but even without commuter rail, you're already more than double the trains you make from 24 to 60. So, I mean, the marine community wants something. I mean, I would love the bridge, but we got to work with the county, and I think that.
What'd you just say? As an equal partner, then you have the ability to really talk as peers on an issue that is really of major significance. It's of regional significance. And how do we come to the table as peers? We come with information. We come with opportunity. We come with the ability to really examine something in a 360-degree concept rather than people taking sides. And that's what this grant is going to give us. It's going to give us the opportunity to present to the county, the MPO, to the entire community, what it is that this new river crossing with the commuter rail, as we try to seek traffic solutions going into this 21st century. I mean, we're already a quarter of a way through the century, right?
Yeah, it's right.
And the county commission in trying to come up with a locally preferred alternative. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All right. The resolution's been introduced.
Okay, well, let me go through. What I'd like to do is put it through with the stipulation that we go ahead and at least reach out to the county.
Reach out to the county.
And the stipulation that the county is agreeing to partner with us. Whatever that means. I mean, I don't want to send a message we're doing it behind their back without them. That we do need them. You don't realize that we do need to work with them. And on March 5th, I want to report back exactly what the county said. We'll have an idea what BDO is saying, and we'll have a little bit more of a clear path going forward.
So what does that mean? What does it mean for the resolution? Because Dwayne Spence is
you need to have something to sign it.
Ben had nice language before. He had good language about the olive branch, reaching out, hopeful, blah, 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 boo.
Yeah.
You had good language before. Do you remember it?
Yeah, hopefully the city clerk wrote it down.
Did somebody write it down? It was nice. It was good.
It was poetic, I'd say.
It was. It was touching.
It'll be on the recording. I'll get it from there.
But
it's not going to stop us from applying.
I think the nexus of it was that we would reach out, notify the county that we're going to be submitting this grant, what's included in our grant application, that we're looking to partner with them if we're awarded, and that we're seeking their involvement and input in the process throughout.
And I think I do one more thing. We'll have BDO by then, and I'd want to have an idea, again, to have BDO report then to decide which way we're going to go forward with this. So we'll have to, obviously, you need it signed by then. But you said you have until March 5th if you need to do a pullback.
No, so I want to be very clear. Yeah. The deadline is February 29th.
To sign.
Yes. After that, the commission could pull it back at any time. However, I just don't know what the opinion of the federal government would be if we pulled it back. If it's close to the deadline, maybe there's no harm, no foul. If it's 3 months down the road, we might have repercussions or discredit on our grant application. So I want to be very clear.
Have to decide by March 5th,
This is a resolution to provide the city manager with authority to submit the application by the deadline.
But one thing I want to just leave clear as well. The efforts for planning are for local. This complements any planning effort that is led by the county. And I want Ben to confirm that before you all. This is for planning effort to understand impact and this complements Broward County's planning efforts as well, whatever they're doing right now with respect to planning the bridge and also seeing what BDO is doing and reviewing that as well. Ben, can you confirm that?
So if the grant is, again, written in the same lens that the RIA grant was, it focused on all of the alternatives. And then once the grant was awarded, the city and the federal government worked on the scope of what those deliverables would be. And so to your point, city manager, that if the effort that the county's putting forward is an alternative that we identify in the grant application, then yes, we can correlate with their efforts.
Okay. Any further comments?
No.
Okay. Let us call for a vote.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, delegating authority to the city manager to submit a grant application in the amount of $2,500,000 to the United States Department of Transportation under the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity Grant Program to meet the federal funding application minimum requirements for planning phase funding for the New River Crossing, delegating authority to the city manager to execute any and all documents necessary or incidental to the grant application, providing for an effective date. Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman.
I have issues with the $500,000 that would be required. My answer is no.
Commissioner Sturman.
Okay, I want the message going forward. Again, I'm going to vote in a second, but just so it's clear that the intent of this thing is to make it abundantly clear with the county our desire to work with them. We're not going to go rogue. We're not going behind their back. It's not something we're going to do a tunnel or nothing.
And I think we
No. Wait, let me finish, please. And that unambiguous that we intend to work with the county, whichever way it goes. And with that in mind, I'll vote yes.
Commissioner Herbst.
No.
Commissioner Glassman.
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the resolution is approved. Thank you. R4, quasi-judicial resolution approving vacation of utility easement located at 201 Southwest 14th Street, USD Tarpon River LLC, Tarpon River Storage. Anyone wishing to... I'm sorry, I meant to say R3. There is no R4. Just seeing if you were paying attention there, Mr. City Manager. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in. Commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. Commissioner Herbst, do you have any disclosures?
No.
Vice Mayor? That's you.
Yes, that's me. I'm trying to remember. Just a short, brief conversation with Robert Lockery.
I had the same short conversation today with Robert Lockery, Commissioner Glassman.
Same with me.
And Commissioner Sturman.
Well, it's in District 4, so I had a very long and detailed conversation with Mr. Lockery. Yes, okay. Robert Lockery.
All right. So, R3, we had a few people sign up to speak. Ralph Taunton, Alan Hooper. Is Alan still here? No. Oh, there you are. Okay. Arden Heffron and Juana Lira. So, is Rolf here? Hi, Rolf. Want to come up to the podium? Good evening. It's not on. Just push the button.
Okay.
Very good.
Hi. Thanks for having me. First of all, I've learned a lot about this in the last 48 hours because this is what's going to go next door. So I own the property that this butts up against. I am right on the other side of the fence where this vacation of utilities is. So I've been doing my due diligence. I wish I had known about this months ago, years ago. I bought this property 14 years ago, and when I first was dealing with my real estate agent and whatnot, I asked about the property next door. I was told that there was a 99-year lease on this property and that I pretty much never had to worry about it. I did learn that the family member or the person that owned it did pass away, and that it was in an estate that, and obviously developers came around wanting, interested in this, and eventually, yes, a sale happened apparently about a year. Well, I don't know, a little over a year ago, whatever the date was. You know, this is something that we always feared and whatnot. A couple things just about what I got to say here. I know that this is about the utility easement, which is 25 feet directly on the other side of my fence for about 122 feet. This used to be a road, Southwest 3rd Avenue, and I know that half of it, of this road, is my property now, and the other half of this became this utility easement for the existing property on the other side. I don't believe there's much underground right there and whatnot. My concern is what's going to happen and what they're going to be able to do with the land on the other side of this fence, this 25 feet. From what I've looked up, this is, and when I came home to find some surveyors all around here to really express all of this, I can't even sit in my backyard without being in a shadow probably until 11 o'clock or something like that in the morning now. I sit out and enjoy my coffee every single morning and see the sunrise coming up through my beautiful. There's not one thing in Croissant Park roof line that is between over 35, 40 feet tall. So for this, which I believe is still Croissant Park, I can't believe that they're going to build something like this right next door.
Let me ask Chris Cooper. Chris, how can someone have a single family home and then next to them be a storage facility? What are we missing here?
80 feet tall.
What kind of zoning are we looking at here?
So, Mayor, this property is on B3. It runs right with the railroad tracks to the east of the property, and then there's residential to the west. But it is zoned B3. So it's a higher intensity business use.
So
district.
this gentleman happens to live right up against the B3 zoning district.
I think that's what he's saying, yes. So there'll be some neighborhood compatibility requirements.
A couple. I think I've used all
This
my...
is your district anyway.
You're right, it is. I think I used all my questions on R2. Do I have any questions left over in my back pocket, Mr. Mayor? Could I have Mr. Lockery come up? And Chris, if you could stay there, if you could come up. Yes, please. And Alan, if I think you could probably answer everything. And as I'm going through there was some of the same concerns I had, and probably Chris, you can answer that. East of the tracks is Poinciana Park. West of the tracks is Croissant Park. And there's the South Rack, and there's different densities, heights, and all that in the South Rack. And then when you get into Croissant Park, it's residential. And like most people, when you think of Croissant Park, you think of totally residential, and you think of the rack, the South Rack is ending at the tracks. And doing my homework and looking into this and the research on here, it appears that it's not true. It appears that apparently, I just thought it was all residential, but apparently it is commercial. What is the zoning on that? And if you could just answer that.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Robert Lockery on behalf of the applicant. Yes, the zoning, as Mr. Cooper indicated, is B3, which is the city's heavy commercial light industrial zoning district. It has been that way since prior to 1997. And in fact, the land use on this portion actually is South RAC, Regional Activity Center. That begins a little bit further north of Davie Boulevard, just on. I know it was mentioned an 80-foot building. The buildings that are being proposed, a couple things. I will go ahead and add a couple things here.
Please, yeah,
the building that's being proposed is 5 stories. It's actually 62 feet. The building's on the south, which is right adjacent to the gentleman's property. I do want to point out as well, as staff indicated, neighborhood compatibility does apply in this category. And in fact, the building is located over 80 feet, about 83, that it's no longer needed for any purpose. And what it really does, the reason we're vacating it, it allows us, we're not putting any structures on that easement. I want to make that very clear. It allows us instead to put trees as well as a buffer wall in that easement. So that is going to be a buffer either way. The difference is, and the reason staff requested that we vacate it, if it remains an easement, we're not allowed to put about 20 trees in it, which is what we're proposing in that small area. If the easement's vacated, which is no longer needed for any utility purpose, then we can go ahead and landscape that heavily, which is the advantage of being able to do that.
I will have another question about a letter from Stormwater that I was concerned about, but let me just bring Chris. So don't go too far. Chris, where does South Rack go? Where technically is the South Rack?
Yeah, so you have the South Rack zoning district, east and west, which runs from about the Tarpon River south to State Road 84. kind of splits along Andrews Avenue, goes to southeast First Avenue for the eastern side of the South Rack, and I think southwest First, thereabouts for the South Rack West zoning
Well, southwest,
district. Your land use area that could be rezoned to a South Rack zoning district. But what's actually zoned South Rack right now pretty much runs along the tracks on the western side of the South Rack zoning district.
Oh, on the western side.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Lockray, can I ask you one other question? A little concerned about a letter I received from Stormwater. If you could address that, they had
certainly.
had
When the easement vacation was first being reviewed by city staff, an issue came up that Stormwater was actually looking at a portion of the area that we're not vacating, the area north of this easement vacation, and identified that there are currently. Say though, the overall site does just sheet flood out to adjacent properties. With this improvement and with this area, we will now have drainage on the site, so all the water that hits this area will be retained rather than flooding out into other properties as it does today.
And on the south side, it's 14th on the south side?
Yes, and all access is to the south.
And the north is 13th, or what?
It's about 13th. It doesn't quite go up that. Yes, 13th.
And what you're asking for, I thought you were asking for that whole block, but you're not asking for the whole block. How much are you asking for that?
No, so the street was vacated, a portion of the street, which I can show you on a diagram, but if I've got graphics.
No,
but
I
it's
have
probably,
seen,
yeah, so you've seen it.
Right.
A portion of the street was vacated about 25 years ago in the last century, and the street was vacated about 25 years ago in the last century. And when the city vacated that vacated that right of way, they maintained a blanket easement, and that's what's being vacated. It's just that small portion.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
The easement's being vacated is located about 83 feet from the property line.
So if you were to build, how close will you be to the property line?
So from the property line where the easement vacation is occurring, it's about 83 feet. If you go further, obviously on the east side, closer to the railroad tracks, it's much closer. As you go further north, there's about a 20-foot buffer adjacent to the street. But that's not an area that we're vacating. That's not the request that's before you tonight.
Right, but I'm really trying to see how close are you going to be to this gentleman's house. I guess that's the bottom line here.
Correct. So from his house, I don't know, from his property line, over 80 feet.
Okay, so it'll be an 80-foot distance between his property line and the building that you intend to build.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
And with this vacation, we can now populate that area with trees and
Is
with a buffer wall.
Is that part of the site plan?
Yes, that is the site plan. That's correct. The original site plan did not can't contemplate vacating this easement because we're not building anything on it.
Right.
And it was through the consideration of how can we get some more landscaping in that area, how can we create a better buffer. Can't do that in an easement, or at least the city would prefer that we didn't. And so that was the reason for the vacation of the easement. Thank you.
Okay.
And so that was the reason for the vacation of the easement.
It already has landscaping on it and trees that are mature, 40-plus-year-old trees along there that they're going to take down.
I don't know the answer to that. Okay, thank you. Alan Hooper? Just here for questions? Okay. Arden Heffron? Arden, are you still here? Arden, followed by Juana Lira.
West 12th Court, District 4. I've lived on the street 40 years. And the thing I'm concerned about when I read the PDF was removing a fence east side, southwest 3rd Avenue. That whole area for a long time, we had a real problem with crime. And then we were able to get some fencing in there. So what I'm concerned about, if they're going to tear a fence down, are we going to go back to the time when everybody came from the railroad tracks? That's pretty much it.
Mr. Locker, you want to respond to that?
Yes, absolutely. Currently, there's a small chain link fence along a portion of it, it's particularly on the north piece, which also has some barbed wire above it. That will be brought down, and in its place will be a new fence. An attractive fence will be located along there. And as I said, adjacent to the single family, there'll actually be a wall built. So the site will be completely secured,
How
as
tall,
this
of
gentleman
a, how
requested.
tall of a wall are we looking at?
The wall is maximum we're allowed is 6 feet.
And I understand that, but what is,
6
how
feet.
tall were you planning to build it?
6 feet tall wall.
So I'd like some type of assurance if they're going to tear that down, that we won't be sitting there for a long time.
Well, we're not. We
Thank you
understand.
very much.
Thank you for being here tonight. Joanna Lira.
Good evening. I live right across the street from Rolf, and my concern is just as his concerns are how high this building is going to be.
In that area right now, this property does not have any storm management system. With this new development, all the water that occurs on this, in fact, there's going to be deep well injections used to take care of that water. So we will not be contributing. Actually, we'll be taking water that now flows out into the street, and we'll be keeping it on our site. And also, I do want to say, as far as the indication of the where access is, currently, in fact, if anything, this precludes it from ever being reopened because there won't even be a utility easement through there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question? Okay. No one else has signed up to speak. Does anyone wish to speak on this item? There being none, anyone from the commission have any questions?
No, they've answered everything of mine.
Someone like to move to close public hearing?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Introduced.
It's been introduced. Please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, vacating the east 20 feet of that certain retained utilities easement above a portion of the Southwest 3rd Avenue right-of-way vacated by ordinance number C-9966, recorded in Official Records Book 29983, page 188 of the Public Records 4th Avenue, north of Southwest 14th Street, east of Florida East Coast Railway, and south of Southwest 13th Street, all said lands being in the City of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and R3 is approved. PH1, public hearing, quasi-judicial ordinance approving a rezoning from Broward County General Commercial Business District B2, Broward County Planned Business Center B-2A District, and Broward County Office Park District to City Commerce Center. This is 600, 800, and 1000 Corporate Drive. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in. The commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. Commissioner Herbst, do you have any disclosures?
Yes, I met with Andrew Schein.
Vice Mayor?
I believe I had a Zoom meeting with Andrew Shin some time back.
Okay. I also met with Mr. Schein. Commissioner Glassman?
I feel a little left out. I don't think we had a meeting, did we?
We did not on this one.
Wow.
I have to check if we reached out.
You are not worthy.
We probably did not. But.
I don't think you reached out. That's okay. Don't feel bad.
Commissioner Sturman?
This is PH1, right?
PH1.
I think we've met, right? And Robert, I think we did meet on this
We did not meet on this one.
I have a note that we did meet, maybe in my dreams.
Oh.
But I think we might have.
Dinner and a movie? I mean, what?
Mr. Schein, you can block your ears.
That's a tough visual.
Okay, let us move on. Mr. Schein is the only one who's signed up to speak. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? There being none, do I hear a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, public hearing is now closed on PH1. Would someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
Introduced.
It's been introduced by somebody.
In ordinance amending section 47-1.6.b of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations through the revision of the official zoning map of the City of Fort Lauderdale and Schedule A revised compilation attached thereto by reference made a part thereof so as to rezone from Broward County Office Park District to Commerce Center District a portion of tracts 4 and 5 and to rezone from Broward County General Commercial Business District and Broward County Planned Business Center District to Commerce Center District a portion of Track 2 and all of Track 3, together with the vacated 50-foot canal east of and parallel with said tract and the vacated portion of Northeast 7th Avenue adjacent to said tracts 2 and 3, Shallow I-95, according to the plat thereof as recorded in Plat Book 102, page 25, Public Records of Broward County, Florida, located west of East Cypress Creek Road, east of I-95, west of Dixie Highway, and south of Cypress Creek Canal, all said lands being in the city of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and PH1 is now approved. Now we'll go to ordinances on first reading. This is OFR 1, first reading of an ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending ordinance number C-69-76 as amended to change the minimum number of meetings required for the Community Services Board from 10 to 8 meetings per year. Someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
The ordinance has been introduced. Please call the roll.
In ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending ordinance number C-69-76, which established the community service boards as amended to change the minimum number of meetings required per year from 10 meetings to 8 meetings and providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinance provisions, and an effective date. Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and OFR 1 is approved on first reading. OFR 2, a first reading of an ordinance amending the classification table of the pay plan of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida by changing the pay grades of 3 classifications and adding 2 new job classifications and amending Schedule 6 of the pay plan by modifying the pay grade for 2 classifications. Someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
The ordinance has been introduced. Please call the roll.
In ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending the non-bargaining unit classification table of the pay plan of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, as amended by changing the pay grades of 3 job classifications and creating and adding 2 job classifications, amending Schedule 6 of the pay plan of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, by modifying the pay grade for 2 classifications and providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinance provisions, and an effective date. Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and OFR 2 is now approved on first reading. OFR 3, first reading, ordinance amending section 25-24 entitled Temporary Signs of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to amend regulations pertaining to display and removal of election-related signs. Okay.
They're just changing the wording from election related to election. Is that what it is, Greg?
No, it's about the signs.
Dwayne Spence, Deputy City Attorney. Excuse me. So this amendment does 2 things. The Supreme Court in 2015 rendered a decision that basically said that sign regulation has to be content neutral and kind of ruled that most of the regulations that were out there were content-based. That led to a change in our sign regulations. But subsequent to that, the Supreme Court came back with a decision in 2022 in the town of Boston, which clarified what they meant in that case and clarified that certain distinctions like on-premises versus off-premises distinctions can be made. What this ordinance does, it amends the temporary signed regulations of our code to clarify that these are content neutral regulations that are based not on the content of the sign, but on premises and off premises distinctions for 2 of those types, and also time period regulations based on the events that these signs are typically associated with. So those are amendments to the definitions. And then there is the change that you just referred to, Commissioner Sturman, with regards to clarifying an ambiguity in the code with regards to election-related signs that currently has time periods associated with election-related events. I want to clarify and change that term to election so that there is no ambiguity as to what that refers to.
Do we have any questions, anyone? So do we move to close, open? Oh, no?
We don't.
It's not a.
It's not a public hearing. We don't have to.
Okay, so
Is it a resolution?
Resolution?
It's an ordinance. It
Ordinance.
just have a-
Okay, someone
Does
that
it introduce?
introduces.
Yes.
Okay, I'll introduce it.
Okay. Introduce the
I'm up-
resolution.
Oh, it's a motion, I'll move it.
No, it's an ordinance. You introduce it.
I introduce it.
Okay. In ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending Section 25-24 temporary signs of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinance provisions, codification, and correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date. Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
And Mayor Tarantellis is not present.
Okay. Next,
We
we
have,
have the
walk-on.
walk-ons.
So the first ordinance is the ordinance amending Section 8-55.5 to implement additional mitigation measures related to high-impact events on beach property.
So, if I may, Vice Mayor, this is for purposes of being responsive to what some cities south of us are taking are doing to take measures to protect their cities. As you know, in the past, certain cities in the south have experienced certain levels of chaotic type of visitors and visitor activities. They have placed certain measures to limit that, and as a result, we received many inquiries from business owners, hoteliers, and neighbors about what we're doing about it as well. After meeting with the police chief, TAM, Transportation Mobility Director, Fire Chief Golan, and other stakeholders, we looked at how we can prevent that, and so we're proposing right now these measures so that we can at least have that ability. Should we have that high impact experience here, we can act on it, and with 2 readings, we would be able to take those measures and those actions.
Any other questions?
What measures are we talking about here?
Ben's going to express.
So there's an existing ordinance right now that allows the city or provides authority to the city manager to enact certain things during the period that he defines as the high impact on beach property. And so every year, typically spring break, the city manager will write a memo declaring what he's enacting for the prohibitions on the beach. Typically it includes no coolers, no tents, and he'll define the areas where those rules are in play and for the term. That gets sent to the city clerk, who then shares it with the community, and that's the rules for the beach during that period of time. What we're looking to do, as the city manager said, is put more tools in the toolbox. So the 2 walk-ons that you have tonight are primarily tied to parking. And so the first one allows the city manager authority to raise the parking rate for special events during spring break up to $100 per vehicle per day. Right now, the code has the authority for him to go up to $35. Again, this doesn't mean that's what the rate will be. It just gives him that tool in the toolbox to increase it should we have the need. The second action is to change the schedule of fines in Chapter 26. That defines all of the parking citations, and this creates a higher parking fee or a citation for a violation during the high impact. So if the parking fee is $100, the citation is more than $100. That's what the tools are. We're looking at some other things that they were doing to the south of us. One of them it deals with sidewalk cafe permits. We reviewed our code, and we believe that we already have that in a different section where the city manager or the police chief has authority to revoke or suspend, sidewalk cafes for the interest of public health. So we don't need to add that to the high impact ordinance. We're looking at tow fees, and that's regulated by the county, so we don't have any action on that. So as of right now, the only action that we have is the parking fee up to $100 and the associated parking citation.
Okay, cafes, tell me about that. What currently, what type of things would we be dealing with the cafe violations?
So the cafes, especially out on A1A, if they get busy, if there's issues out there, again, we don't have any perceived threat or known cause, but having tools in the toolbox that if we needed to revoke a sidewalk cafe permit, that we have the ability to do so.
For like disorderly behavior, or what type of thing would
Yeah, it'd be disorderly behavior. It could be ongoing nuisance, things like that.
noise or something? Or?
Exactly. We could,
Okay.
there's, I think that the ordinance, and I have to pull it up in section, I think it's 25-189, talks about, in the interest of public health and welfare, that we have the authority to do that.
And obviously, the second one is fine. I mean, obviously, if you're going to raise the parking rate to 100 per day, and the fine is only $35 a day, nobody's going to pay $100. They just go ahead and take their shot and just get fined, and they'll end up saving money. But when you talk about high impact, do they include like Tortuga or Air and Sea Show or events like that also, or just spring break, or what type of things?
So the ordinance for high impact has a definition of what is considered, and there's multiple criteria that you go through to determine if it's high impact. But at the end of the day, it's up to the city manager, if there's multiple things that would qualify for a high impact, to declare it and then put the rules forth that he's putting forth. So
would it be for something like, Greg, would it be for something like a air show, or that would not be?
Yeah, we can if we determine it's high impact. It's just when we feel that there's going to be an anticipated large volume of visitors.
And so what that would do is raise the fee for parking, and that's going to encourage people to take
other forms of transportation.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's a tool in the toolbox. So for the air show, he might just say no coolers on this area. For spring break, he might enact all of his tools.
So
all
with
in consultation with staff.
In regards to the increase in parking rate, how does that affect the residents? If I understand about the tourism, I'm trying to deter the activity of how many cars on the beach, but how about our neighbors that may want to?
Yeah, so we offer permits for residents who have, residents or have ongoing regular routine needs that they could purchase. But during special events, a lot of times the neighbors are impacted by the parking rates.
Okay, so that special permit does not keep them from being exposed to that $100.
Yeah, each permit has its own rules, so I can't answer that at an umbrella answer. But yes, there are ways for residents to continue to park.
First of all, I want to commend you and the police chief, the fire chief, the city manager, and all of your staffs who have been meeting regularly to try to come up with solutions and to be proactive in anticipation of the crowds that we're going to get for spring break. I know that there's consternation currently being felt by the city when we realized that Miami Beach was closing down spring break and has been very vocal about it. I don't know if that crowd's coming here, going Wynwood, going to Daytona, going to wherever. But I will say that in the past, the city has been pretty successful at trying to avert any kinds of overwhelming activity that take over the beach and make it unpleasant for our residents and our neighbors who live there. So I know this is just one measure; it's not the panacea, but I know it's, like you said, one tool in the toolbox. I guess to some extent there's going to be an inconvenience for people that live in the city. I recommend they either take Circuit or Uber to if their destination is the beach. That might be helpful anyway. But I know that trying to restrict the amount of parking certainly will deter the numbers that would otherwise come to the beach. We are victims of our own success, providing a welcome, friendly, safe environment for visitors to come here. College kids have traditionally come to Fort Lauderdale for generations. And so, I hope we can continue to be a good host for those that come, and those that do come, I hope they can be good guests as they get to appreciate the city that we all have come to love. So, which ordinance are we dealing with first?
That's 24-0173. So that's the one related to section 8-55.5 of Article 3.
That'd be the $100 parking rate.
You have to do the rate, I think, before we do the fine. Is that what it is?
This is 173. Okay, very good. So would someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
An ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending Section 8-55.5 of Article 3, Public Beaches, entitled High Impact Events on Beach Property of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, providing for the city manager's authority to impose additional measures to protect beach property during high impact events and providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinance provisions, and an effective date. Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yeah, before I vote, one quick thing. Is one of them the rate and another one is the fine? I mean, what is the difference between these two?
The difference in whether or not one item is that there are different sections of the ordinance, and so we have to have an action for each modification.
Okay.
But one is the rate that we charge, and then
The
the
first
other
one's the rate. The one we're dealing with right now,
The rate
Commissioner, is the rate.
And the second one would be more like the fine.
The fine, that's
Correct.
correct.
Okay, just want
The
to.
enforcement of the rate.
I mean, not that I wouldn't support it. I just want to know what I'm voting on. Yeah. Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and that ordinance is now approved on first reading. Now we have the next ordinance amending Section 26-91A. of the Code.
Introduced.
It's been introduced. Anyone have any additional questions? There being none, please call the roll.
An ordinance of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending Section 26-91A of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, entitled Schedule of Fines, to revise the schedule of fines related to parking for high-impact events on beach property in the City of Fort Lauderdale, and providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinance provisions, and effective date. Vice Mayor Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Commissioner Glassman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and that ordinance is now approved. Is there any further business of the City Commission? Mr. City Attorney, do you have any closed-door sessions you wish to announce? There are none. Anything else, Mr. Chevarria? There being
No,
none.
sir.
Is there any further business of the Commission? There being none, this meeting is concluded at 9:35.